In this video, I'll show you 102 Zoho automations so you can understand what Zoho is capable of and automate your processes. I'm Drew Brockbank, owner of Brockbank Consulting, an elite Zoho partner, and I've implemented Zoho for over 141 organizations. If you want help with Zoho, book a free consultation. If you have a list that you're sending emails to, you've got to do email validation, because if you don't, you risk getting your domain penalized. And if your domain is penalized, you can't send communications to anyone. The big email service providers like Google and Microsoft, they will shut you down. And I've had clients that have ended up in that situation. They've come to us to help them fix it. It's a long road to recovery when your domain gets penalized. And you get penalized by not validating bad domains or bad emails that get into your system. Then you send out an email blast to a bunch of bad domains. And then these big email service providers think that you're spamming, and then they shut you down because they're like, these are spam communications. So simply what you need to do in order to avoid that nightmare situation, which happens more than you think, is you need an automation to go through the emails being added to your system, and you need to make sure that they are valid. Okay, so you can see I've got this automation here in Zoho Flow. If you're not familiar with Zoho Flow, it's like Zapier. It allows you to automate with other applications inside of the Zoho ecosystem and outside of the Zoho ecosystem and build integrations. You can see this automation starts with a new lead being created. From that new lead, we go to zero bounce. Okay, so we send zero bounce the email. We say, hey, this is an email that just entered our system, and zero bounce will tell us if it's valid or invalid. It also gives us some other information like how long that domain's been around in days. Then we divide that by 365 just to give us a general idea of how long that organization has been around. Because let's say a new lead submits a contact us form on our website and they've been around for 10 years and they've got 100 employees. That's a very established organization versus someone who has been around 0 years. It's not that we wouldn't take that lead seriously, but we wouldn't score them the same way. Okay, that's beside the point. We get that information back from zero bounce, and then we have to make a decision. Are we going to update our lead so that the email validation is valid, or are we going to say it's invalid? Now, zero bounce actually gives you different responses. It's not as simple as invalid and valid. It gives you there's other outputs that it can give you, but we make a decision based on those outputs. We make it really simple. We say it's either invalid or it's either valid or it's invalid here. And then we pass along some additional information. But this is a very simple but sweet automation that will keep you from getting your domain penalized so you can keep your email list clean. We're going to talk about a very meaty automation here called automatic AI data enrichment. Okay, so there's a lot of different directions I can go with this. I decided that I'm going to stick with one situation just to give you clarity and really put on full display what this is capable of doing. And then I can give you some ideas on how this would apply to you. But hopefully as I'm demonstrating this, it'll start to spark ideas on how you can use automatic AI data enrichment because it's really powerful. This is probably one of the most useful situations in which I see AI actually is helpful instead of just interesting and fun to play with. Okay, so oftentimes people will fill out a form on my website. This is one of the forms on my website. Are you already on Zoho? Yes. It will ask another question. What Zoho plan are you on? This is a Zoho form, by the way, on my website. What plan are you on? Zoho 1. I'll click on that. How long have you been on Zoho? 1 year, etc. Okay, so it takes through a bunch of questions for me to get the information that I need before I contact somebody, before I get in touch with them and I help them. Okay, usually through a free consultation after this. What I do is, because I'm not getting all the information that I want, I like to have lots of information before I meet with someone. I want to know what industry they're in. I want to know what their possible sales process is. And that stuff I'm not going to ask on this form. Okay, it's too long. I don't want to reduce the amount of conversions for the sake of additional information. But I don't have to make that sacrifice. I can get the best of both worlds with automatic AI data enrichment. So what I do is when someone fills out this form here, I ping a system called Clay. You can see we're inside of the app Clay right here. And what I'm able to do is take some information that was filled out on the form. So for example, company, last name, first name, email. And then I can start to prompt AI. Okay, and this is what I find interesting about this tool and helpful. Again, there's so many different rabbit holes here. We're going to keep it really focused, or I'm just going to go into Neverland on everything we can do here. So look at this. Here's the mission. Imagine you're in ChatGPT and you're writing a prompt. find the LinkedIn URL for first name, last name with company. If it's not found, output null. If the LinkedIn profile is found, only output the URL of the LinkedIn profile. So now I'm sending Clay's AI on a mission. Okay, they call it Clayagent, right? Agent Clay, Clayagent. It's an AI web researcher. So now I can find information using AI that I otherwise wouldn't want to collect on the form because it would reduce the amount of conversions. When I say conversions, I'm just saying the amount of times people would actually fill out the forms. The longer the form is, the less conversions you are probably going to get. Okay, that's the likelihood. The more you're requiring of someone, the less that they're going to jump over that hurdle. But I still want the information. I still want their LinkedIn URL. I just don't want to ask it in the form because then they're going to have to go to LinkedIn, click on their profile, get the URL and throw it in. But I still want the information. You may be thinking to yourself, well, how often does this stuff work? You may even be thinking to yourself, I don't need their LinkedIn URL. That's okay. I'm going to show you other information that I gathered here to give you ideas on what you can do. Okay. I've noticed that this is most helpful with B2B, but there are certainly B2C use cases. Okay. This works about 80, 90% of the time. Okay. It doesn't always work, but it mostly works, and it works much better than alternatives such as Apollo and other data enrichment platforms that I've noticed usually have about a 20 to 30% success rate as opposed to 80, 90%. So this works significantly more. You can actually use those data enrichment tools inside of Clay too, but I'm going to move on with this because that is a whole other topic that I don't have time for in this section. So LinkedIn URL, it's found it, okay? From the LinkedIn URL, I can further prompt Clay to scrape my profile, get the name, my title, my connection. So name, that's redundant, right? But I just wanted to show you, hey, you can scrape that. Title, didn't have that information before. That's helpful, right? It's helpful for me to know, am I talking to the CEO or am I talking to a sales manager? That's going to help me approach the situation better. So the better, the more good information I have before I meet with someone, the better. Okay, that's the principle here. And I don't want to ask for it on the form, so I got to get it another way. This is the best way to get it. I'm also getting connections, number of followers. Also, Clay does cost, but I don't pay for it. I just use the free credits that I have because I don't overly use this. I use this for booked appointments. Okay, so that it gives me the information before I actually meet with somebody. But you can use it. We've even had a use case with a client where we designed this solution inside of Clay, and it tied in with Zoho as an automation. I'm going to show you how this deals with Zoho because I know I'm kind of cheating here. I'm like Zoho automations, but this is a Clay automation where every time someone submitted a part request, there was a certain website where we trained this system to look through that website through the list of different parts and then go into the specific page and then scrape that page and give us all the information to see if there was a match on a part. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways you can use this. I'm just showing you lead AI enrichment, but you can use AI automatic data enrichment for just about anything that requires you to go through the internet and do some searching. Okay, so it can be extremely useful. You can also create your own tables here. I'm showing you kind of a flow from left to right. You can see I'm getting the headline here, the summary, the country location information. This would be useful if you're running a marketing campaign. You want to see what locations are performing well, what people where in the world are converting more. So you can double down on certain locations. You can be more aggressive in your bidding strategies or your ad spend in certain locations because you know you're going to get more conversions from those campaigns. Conversions is just some desired event, whether it's filling out a form or joining a newsletter, whatever it might be. That'd be a conversion. For those of you who are a little confused on what I'm saying there, I'm grabbing the information from their company profile on LinkedIn and then I'm sending it back. Now, when I say sending it back, I'm using Zoho Flow to absorb the information from Clay and then update the lead. That way, when I look at the lead, I have what does their organization offer? We're going to go over this in just a second. LinkedIn, their headline, email validation, etc. All of that is enrichment. Okay. So back here, you can see that we do another round of enrichment. I want to go to their website based on their email domain that they submitted. And if it's not Gmail, Yahoo, anything like that, I could do some restrictions on it, but I don't. So on the back end, I just make sure, hey, if it's not one of these popular domains like Gmail or Yahoo, scrape their website. You can see here, this is what I'm doing here. Let's go to edit column. Visit the website in this email and tell me what the organization offers in one sentence. Please output in a similar format as at Brockbank Consulting, we help organizations. It helps me to have this level of clarity when I meet with somebody, right? I even have this prompt here just to show you. Visit the website in this email. What industry is this organization in? Keep your response from 2 to 4 words. Okay, so you can see how I'm using different skills from, if you want to call it prompt engineering, with using ChatGPT in this flow so that I can actually utilize AI in a helpful way at scale. I can set this up and then forget it. So I'm automatically getting the best information possible. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to be my best bet for getting information before I meet with someone. Okay, so this is the best way to do automatic AI enrichment inside of Zoho so that you can automatically pull data that you wouldn't normally get through the form to reduce conversions, and you can do that through enrichment. It is so painful to watch people manually pull data from different sources to create reports and dashboards. Don't do that. You can do this automatically, pulling data from different sources to update your reports and your dashboards through Zoho Analytics. So instead of doing it manually, look at all these different places that you can connect to and automatically pull data from out of the box with Zoho Analytics. There's these pre-built connectors. You just need to sign in, choose the intervals in which you want to pull the data, and you are good to go. You can also see here the various data sources that I have in this demonstration instance. I have Zoho CRM, Zoho Sales IQ, Zoho Desk, and then here, YouTube. I'm pulling data from a platform outside of the Zoho ecosystem and bringing it into Zoho Analytics automatically. That way I don't have to go and report in different places in my organization. I can bring it all into one platform, Zoho, specifically Zoho Analytics, and it happens automatically. So I don't have to manually pull data from these places. I can just have it automatically update for me. And then I have even a data source for my local drive and Zoho projects. Okay. In addition to that, I can automatically send this out. I can send out the latest version of this report on a routine basis via email to a distribution list. So if you're in a larger organization, maybe you're a solopreneur, you just want to send it to yourself, but in a larger organization, you may have a distribution list of key stakeholders who need to see a series of reports or a dashboard, and you can automatically distribute that report on a routine basis, maybe before a sales meeting, maybe before an executive meeting. You want everyone to have the latest copy of this dashboard. You don't want them to have to go into Zoho Analytics and fish around for it. You can automate all of that with Zoho Analytics. So I'm cheating a little bit with this one. It's not technically automatic, but I'd say it's autopilot. So we're just gonna put it in here, because if I didn't, I feel like I'd be doing you a massive disservice. This has been extremely helpful for my clients and for myself, so I want to share it with you. If you've ever been in a situation where you've wanted to create more training for the people in your organization, or just training so you could have it ready so that when you hire more people, you can actually put them through a system that helps them and trains them. And let's be real, look over the last couple jobs that you've had or organizations you've worked with. Very rarely does someone do this right. And every time someone would say SOP or standard operating procedures, I hated that. I'm like, I don't want to make SOPs. I don't want to do that. I just want to be able to do my own thing and not worry about it. But then there comes this point where you're trying to offload things you're trying to do. And as you grow, you need to become interdependent with other people. And you want to standardize the way that you're doing things. And this is the only way I've seen work. I've worked with over 140 organizations, had multiple jobs myself, none of which had great training. That's okay. That's not a diss on them. It's really difficult to do this. And so I want to show you this autopilot SOP system. Okay, we're going to go over pretty quickly. I have another video on this if you want to check it out. It's autopilot SOP system, something like that. Zoho Learn tutorial on YouTube. Okay. So this is an SOP on how to create an SOP. Now, this is really critical because if you want to start offloading, if you want to automatically have SOPs created for you, or not automatically, but on autopilot, you need to find a trusted member of your team. And you need to get Loom. And you can see here, this is Loom right here. It's a way to quickly record your screen. You can get a few Loom videos for free if you sign up for a free trial. And you just record yourself and say, hey, this is my procedure. This is how I sort my email inbox. if you have an assistant. This is how I create and send proposals if you're a sales manager. This is how to migrate data. Maybe you're a CTO at an organization and you got to migrate data all the time. If you're in marketing, how to add customer journey stages and statuses to Zoho. Whatever it is, right? These are just to give you examples of other SOPs that can be created. Whatever you're doing that's painful for you, or that you want to offload, or that you want to standardize and you think everyone should have training or access to training on something, would require an SOP. That is the fundamental unit of training that has to be nailed down. And you may think to yourself, we've tried this in the past. It's not what, it's the way. Okay. So if you've done SOPs in the past, no one cares. It's the way that you do SOPs that matter. And this is the best way to do it, to sustainably create SOPs on repeat. So step number 1, find a trusted member of your team. Step number 2, record yourself doing something that you want to create an SOP on. And then don't create it yourself. Send this SOP to them. Yes, like take a screenshot of this and take a screenshot, copy this, whatever you got to do. This is the magic SOP on creating SOPs. You can even take my Loom video if you want to. And this is a recording of me creating an SOP and all my thoughts on why I'm creating it the way that I do, all my notes. And then send this SOP along with a recording of what you want an SOP created on to a trusted member of your team. Why do I say send it to a trusted member of your team? Because if you don't, you're not going to do this. I'm talking to you as if you're someone who doesn't have enough time. I don't have enough time to do this stuff, but I want to, but I got to be strategic and focus on what's most impactful. So I send this to my assistant. If you're a sales manager, find someone on your sales team. If you're a CTO, find someone in the organization that you trust, and you can send things over to, or go on Fiverr, find a cheap digital assistant and hire them for these projects on a one-off basis, whatever you got to do. But it's really useful to create these SOPs because you got code for humans and then you've got code for Zoho. Code for humans is what allows you to standardize processes and make sure that you have a high level of excellence for the things that you're doing. Okay? It's the best way to train people. Then you've got code for Zoho, which is you training Zoho on what it should do, and you use that. You use Deluge to do that. So SOPs, code for humans, Deluge, code for Zoho. Okay, so that is the system here. Went over at a high level. If you want more information, go find my YouTube video on Zoho Learn. But this is an autopilot SOP system that I wanted to throw in this video for you. Don't create documents manually. Do it automatically with Zoho. Now, for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to lay out a situation for you. May not be your exact situation. That's okay. You're going to pull the principle from this situation and apply it to your own workflow and your own processes if you need to do automatic document generation, which you should. So let's just say that we were a sales manager, okay? And we're doing sales ourselves in addition to managing other salespeople. And we want to show our team, hey, instead of creating these proposals manually every single time, it's taking us 15, 20 minutes. Let's find a way to do this automatically. Very common use case for a sales team specifically. Now, you may be on a technical team. You may be on any time you're creating documents in any team, or maybe you're a solopreneur and you've just got to do this for yourself. Great. In this situation though, let's say I'm trying to sell the company Stryker and I just closed a deal with them, so I can mark close one. And I'll save that. And then I'll go to the 3 dots in the top right. I'm going to hit mail merge. It's your way of merging information from Zoho into a document. You can see I've selected ZBlitz old proposal. This one's an ugly one, but that's okay. It'll get the job done. I'm going to click on that. And then the template for the document is going to show up. So this is most useful for the times where you are creating the same agreement, contract, document over and over and over again, but you got to merge information in certain parts of the document. Okay. That's where this automation is most useful. You can see I've got run merge here. So you might be thinking, why didn't it just merge right off the bat? Well, if you want to do that, you can use send with Zoho Sign. You can use this button and you can integrate Zoho Sign with Zoho CRM. The only reason I didn't show that is because I'm not sure if you want to send an automated document out for signature. You may be creating a document that doesn't need to be sent out for signature, and that's fine. You can do it by going over to the 3 dots at the top right and going to mail merge, okay? But you get the best of both worlds with this way, because now you can see it said deals account name. Now it's saying Stryker. You'll notice it says deals contact name. There's nothing. It didn't break. It's actually just right here. We don't have any contact name, so that's why I didn't merge over. Okay, so from here, this is the merge document. This is just one very simple example of how to merge information in, but it will give you the idea of what this is capable of doing. And then you can also send this document for signature if you wanted to from this interface by going to upload sign services. You can send it through Zoho Sign, Adobe Sign, DocuSign, Sign Easy, so you can get the signature that you need and automatically create documents. I even like to automate the little things such as automatically naming records so I don't have to do it manually every single time, because you might think this is silly, but when you go to create different records, you'll come up with some imaginary convention for how to name a record, and someone else will use a different one, and then you'll be confused. And then over time, you'll even evolve the way that you originally created record names, and it just gets confusing. So why not standardize this and never worry about it again? I have a client script here in the deal record that will automatically create the name of the record as I fill it out. So keep your eye on this deal name. You'll notice as I fill out the contact name, and then as I fill out the account name, it starts to build itself. Then I've even automated this field here for amount, and that will auto-populate the record for me. So when I go to save it, it's already generated for me. Now this, yes, is a small script, but these things make the quality of life in a system so much better, and then people don't have to worry about it. And then they want to use the system because it works for them, not against them. You can automatically pull data from other applications and then display them inside of Zoho CRM. For example, I've got this Sales IQ visitor data related list. This related list did not come with Zoho out of the box. I had to build it. And essentially the script in the background will dip into Zoho Sales IQ. I'll show you here. This is the script that I built, and it dips into Zoho Sales IQ data and then brings it over to Zoho CRM. So you can see here that based on the IP address of the person who filled out this form, it finds all the times that they have visited my website. Now this is really creepy, but what this essentially allows me to do is when I'm having a call with somebody, I can say, how serious is this person about proceeding with an opportunity, a consulting engagement? You can kind of glean from that how you would apply this to your own organization. And then I say, well, if they've been on my website 20 times for over 6 hours, I know they're pretty serious, as opposed to if they've been on my website one time for 1 minute and 9 seconds. That's not very long. I can see what pages that they visited to see what they may be interested in. Okay, so that's the way I can pull information from another app, then connect it to Zoho CRM automatically inside of a related list. You can score records inside of Zoho to give you an idea of how valuable something is. So that's pretty general. So I'm going to be very specific here with a use case. And then hopefully throughout this use case, you can start to glean ideas on how you could apply this to your organization. So let's just say I'm a sales rep and I go into the leads module to start prospecting. And I notice that there's this -20, -20, -20. What are these numbers? Well, this is lead score. Okay. This is the score of that record. And it helps me get an idea of how serious someone is. Now I'm seeing -20, 0. This is a demonstration instance. That's why the numbers are in the negative or 0. But ideally I'd see 100, I'd see 10, I'd see 30, I'd see 50, and I'd see it in the positive, and that would give me an idea of how serious they were with moving forward. Now we can determine lead scoring in this section, and we can award points for both information and behavior. For example, and let me take a step back. The reason this is helpful is if I just see a list of 200 prospects that I need to start prospecting, how is that helpful for me? I want to prioritize this. So if someone has 600 points, I want to start with them first as opposed to someone who has 0 points, right? Because they're showing more signal of intending to move forward than someone with 0 points. It might not be the case. The person with 0 may be a way more ready opportunity, but you would have no way of knowing, right? So we're trying to give some indication as to what to prioritize these records by, okay? Because you have a finite amount of resources and infinite number of things that you can do with your day. We want to prioritize it by something, okay? So that is one way you can use scoring. You can see as an example for information-based scoring, which is this section here, right here. I am scoring that this lead source came from YouTube. I'm adding 10 points. I could do 50 points. I could do 100. My reasoning here is YouTube they're interacting with a video. A video is a very valuable way to interact with a brand or organization. And because of that, I want to add some points. I could totally do 50 if I wanted to. We could consider 100 points. Someone is very ready to go. You could say they're sales ready. Okay. If someone has responded to emails, you could add 20 or 10. We'll do 20 for a response. Then if they've opened, clicked, that's 10. If they bounce, subtract 10 for every survey responded, etc. These are behavior-based scores. Everything below this line, this is behavior-based scoring. What we're essentially saying is if they interact in a certain way, we want to award or we want to penalize a certain amount of points from these records. Okay, so lead scoring is probably what I see most often done here, but it gives you a good understanding of how things are going. This is both useful for B2B and B2C, but you may want to do this on the deals opportunities as well. Anytime you're trying to find a way to prioritize your records, you can use scoring as a way to prioritize what's going on. If you're doing any kind of digital marketing or you want to do marketing tracking of any kind, this is extremely critical for you. But if you're not doing marketing tracking and you're not doing digital marketing and you don't care about tracking these things, then don't worry about this section. Just skip past it because it won't be relevant to you. Okay, so for my digital marketers out there, it is really important that you track what's going on. There's this joke in marketing that half of your marketing spend is generating all of your revenue. You just don't know which half it is. We'll take the blindfold off. This is how you solve this problem. It gets more complicated because in marketing, oftentimes you don't have a linear marketing path, meaning someone could watch a YouTube video, then click on an ad in 6 months, and then look at an email. And then you have to decide, well, between the email, the ad, and the YouTube video, where am I going to give the credit? That gets into a discussion of a multi-touch attribution model. We're going to keep it really simple with a last touch attribution model. I'm going to show you how this works. Okay. Last touch just means the last thing that you measured gets all the credit. That's the easiest one to set up. That's the one that I recommend. You can also do first touch, but we're going to start with that. Okay. Just to keep this simple. So you'll notice I have a link in the bio of my YouTube profile. Okay. In this link, I have a couple interesting things here that you may not have seen before. UTM sources or UTM parameters. This is critical tracking data that rolls up to reporting. So for example, I have an attribution report. The attribution report in this dashboard is essentially answering this question. If I'm looking at all the money I'm spending on marketing, what's working? And how can I justify that it's working? Well, if I can go here and say, hey, YouTube as a source has generated $66,000 for the organization. Maybe that's high for my organization. Maybe that's low. This is a demonstration dashboard. It's just to give you an idea of how this should work. Okay. And then it shows you how much revenue has passed through this acquisition channel in terms of where it came from and how it went through the sales process. Okay. So if you want to get this tracking set up, I like to have it automated because I don't like to generate these parameters manually. It takes forever. So I use a tool and think about it this way. Every time you have a call to action, you have to do this. Do you want to create UTM parameters for every call to action, every ad that you create, every single post that you do, every asset that you have has to have a CTA associated with it? You will forget something. And just as a side note, if you're doing an organic search campaign, or if you're doing SEO, search engine optimization, it's very difficult to measure that with UTM parameters because in your base URL, you don't have UTM parameters. You can't add this to the base URL. If I search for Brockbank Consulting and I click here on drewbrockbank.com, you'll notice there are no UTM parameters here. Okay. I can't add them here. That's not something that I'm able to do unless I want to make it goofy for every single person that clicks on that, which I wouldn't recommend. So what am I saying here? If I click on this link, you'll notice that there's UTM parameters at the top. Now I like to use this tool called Attributor. Yes, this is a tool outside of Zoho, but it is totally worth it. Very, very helpful tool. What this tool allows you to do is, and it's $50 a month or $49 a month. You can start a free trial just to check it out to see if it is helpful for you. I highly recommend it for anyone doing digital marketing and that's taking it seriously, who really wants to understand what's going on. Couple benefits here. Number one, it automatically generates these UTM parameters for you so that you don't have to do it yourself. Number two, you'll notice when I'm on my website and I click to another page, they disappear. The nice thing about Attributor is it's going to take those UTM parameters and store it in a cookie, and then it integrates with your form so that when someone goes down here and fills out my form, the UTM parameters are stored in the cookie. But once I submit this, once I finish the form, right, I get to the end of this form and then I click on submit, it takes that information and it actually puts it in the CRM for you. Okay, so you'll notice here, I've got lead source YouTube, general campaign, organic, term, YouTube bio, and then the contact us form. That's the conversion. Conversion is different from UTM parameters. Conversion is what did they do on the site to get into your system? Okay, did they fill out the contact us form? Did they fill out a Calendly form, a book with us form, a subscriber form? What was the conversion? Okay, the conversion is the thing you wanted them to do, the step you wanted them to take. Okay, so conversion is a pretty general term there. Okay, so once you have that information in the CRM, you don't want to look at it just on a per lead basis. That can be helpful. You want to roll it up and then get a summary of attribution. You want to answer this question: what's working? What's making us money? You're spending all this money. What's making you money? You're spending all this revenue. What's profitable? Where are you getting the return on your marketing efforts? Whether it's organic, whether it's paid, whether it's referrals, whether it's events, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're tracking this stuff automatically, so you don't have to do it manually. You want to set it up you want to set up an advanced system one time at a baseline. And then yes, there will be refinements and tweaks you have to make over time, but if you set it up correctly at first, it's peace of mind knowing that it's running in the background, it's correctly collecting information and presenting it in a way that's helpful, and then you can move on with more impactful work and things that are important. So to recap, this is automatically tracking marketing results, automatic attribution tracking. Highly suggest using Attributor. Attributor in .io in tandem with Zoho is a very powerful mix, and it will help you understand exactly what's working in your marketing and what's not. You want to automate your mass marketing communications, whether it's lead nurturing or after someone has completed a purchase. If you want to do an upsell, cross-sell marketing flow, you can do that inside of Zoho Marketing Automation or Zoho Campaigns. Okay, in Zoho Campaigns, it's called workflows. In Zoho Marketing Automation, they're called journeys. Okay, and then in Zoho CRM, they have transactional cadences or communication workflows called cadences. And the difference there is there's transactional communication and there's mass marketing communication. If you watch the last section, you're gonna be like, you're beating a dead horse here, Drew. But transactional communication is, hey, it came from like a salesperson, an individual. It's not stylized, doesn't have the bars, doesn't have like a button with a call to action on it. It looks like you sent it from your email service provider, whether it be Gmail, Outlook, Zoho Mail, or whatever. Okay. Marketing communication, which is what we're talking about now, looks stylized. Okay. You can see the template inside of these things. It's very different from a transactional communication. Okay. So if you want to automate the mass marketing style communications, then this is for you. Okay. When would you possibly want to do this? I mentioned two at the very beginning. Maybe when somebody first enrolls as a lead, maybe you want to send them a lead nurture series to inform them of products, give them value through showing them other resources. Maybe when someone completes a purchase, you want to do a cross-sell, upsell flow. So based on the product that they purchase, based on the service that they purchase, whether you're B2B or B2C, this can be applicable. Show them an upsell opportunity, inform them about it, whatever it might be. Okay, so you can do all of that here inside of the journey section, Zoho Marketing Automation. Quickly, I'm going to draw the line in the sand between Zoho Marketing Automation and Zoho Campaigns because it can be super confusing. So Zoho Campaigns is more like MailChimp. Okay, so MailChimp in Zoho Campaigns really focus on SMS and email, just sending out email blasts in sequences for both SMS and email. Zoho Marketing Automation is more like HubSpot. Okay, HubSpot's marketing hub specifically. It's got a bunch of different hubs. What I like about this is you can pay a fraction of the cost of what you're paying for HubSpot, and it works great for 99% of marketers out there. So Zoho Marketing Automation has more tools. It's more robust. It can handle additional things such as creating landing pages, and it gives you more depth in what you're able to do for automating your marketing. Okay, so the principle here is that you can use Zoho marketing automation or Zoho campaigns to automate the communications that you send out as a marketer. Even if you're a solopreneur, if you're just doing marketing, it's even more valuable to automate these things, right? Because your time is so precious. If you're a manager at a larger organization, this is still very critical. One other thing I want to note here, when you create the different templates for your emails, there is potential to automate the messages and the messaging to tailor towards the person that you're sending it to. So this is a newer thing, but I just want to make note of it because it's kind of interesting. I'm not going to pull up a bunch of visuals. I'm just going to explain it to you. Okay. So with the advent of AI, what you can essentially do is when someone fills out a subscriber form, you can use AI lead enrichment to look at the record and then essentially generate 6 or 7 different messages that will be a part of this flow here. And you can tailor those messaging. So you can essentially prompt AI and say, hey, based on record data point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, first name, last name, company, title, take this baseline message that I've created and tailor it to this person. Okay. You get way more advanced with that prompt. It's super general. And then you can have personalized email messaging at scale because of that. Now, I've had clients who've done that and seen success. I've had clients who've done that and they haven't seen success. But I just want to make you aware of it because it's really interesting, these things that you can automate. Just to give you some inspiration on what these systems are now capable of doing. Okay, so the main takeaway here should be you can automate your marketing communications. If you want to get a little crazy with it, you can talk about AI message personalization for marketing at scale. Okay, that's kind of becoming a thing. But with that is journeys/workflows across Zoho Marketing Automation and Zoho Campaigns. If you do social media marketing, then you are going to want to use Zoho Social to automatically distribute your content throughout multiple platforms. If you don't do social media marketing, don't worry about this section, just skip it because this really isn't going to be valuable to you or relevant to you. So with that in mind, the nice thing about Zoho Social is you can instead of going into individual platforms and scheduling inside of individual platforms such as YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are posting content. The nice thing about Zoho Social is you connect initially with multiple platforms. I could connect with way more here. I'm just choosing not to. There's some strategic reasons behind that, but I'm not going to go into marketing strategy here. I'm going to keep it really focused on the technical stuff. The nice thing is once you connect to, let's say, 5 platforms, you can just schedule it in one, being Zoho Social, and it will use the APIs from those other applications to push the content through. Okay, so really, it's really, really simple. It's just instead of having you go to multiple places to schedule the content, you schedule in one platform, being Zoho Social, and it will post it to the other channels for you. Okay, so that's what's nice about Zoho Social in terms of automation. It also can automatically track metrics that's coming from your various social media profiles and accounts, which is great as well. Then also you can generate reports and then have a calendar so you can just see what's going on at a glance in terms of social media marketing. If you want to automate your social media marketing posts, then you want to use Zoho Social. If you're anything like me and you forget to send reminders, follow-ups after sending a proposal, then you want to automate it with this simple automation with Zoho Sign that I absolutely love. Okay, so I prepared this proposal. I can upload it to Sign. Once I do, I'll have the proposal here. And at the bottom, there's this section, automatic reminders. And I can toggle this on and then send a reminder every X amount of days. If I want to do every day, every 2 days, and then I can do days to complete. So within those days to complete, they'll receive reminders with whatever interval you set within that time span, okay? I really love this. I love to be able to just flip it on so that once I have that once you have that sales meeting with someone or a meeting with someone, you send an agreement. There's so much chaos going on in their day and in your day. It's good to have that constant reminder just in their inbox to let them know that, hey, this solution is still available to you if you want to move forward with it. You don't want to come off desperate, so maybe don't do it every single day, but set it so that you can forget it. You know that's being taken care of, the reminders are being sent out, and then you can move forward from there. If you have a form on your website like this, or you have a form that you've created inside of Zoho Forms or another form builder that you send to other people to collect information, you want a record created inside the CRM, or you want a record updated inside of the CRM, then you want form automation, okay? And The nice thing about Zoho Forms is I've embedded a Zoho form here on my website, filling this out, and you'll notice after a submission, there is a Zoho Forms, Zoho CRM mapping section where I'm basically setting up this automation to say, hey, once this form is filled out, I want you to create a record inside of Zoho CRM like this. And I want you to take the information from the form and I want you to populate this record. Okay, so this automation is extremely powerful. It's super nice to set up a form, set up the field mapping, and then automatically when the form is submitted to populate a record inside of Zoho CRM. This is an example for leads. Anytime you're having someone fill out a form, you can automate where the information is going afterwards. If you want to automatically sync your main calendar, whether it be Google or Microsoft, with your Zoho calendar, you can do that in the marketplace. You'll see that there's sections for Google and for Microsoft here. Okay, so I've got my Google Calendar sync with my CRM. That way, all of the bookings inside of or appointments that I have scheduled inside of my Google Calendar just sync over seamlessly. You just set it up once and forget it. This should be on a lot of your onboarding checklists for new users. Just make sure all those events are pouring in, because it's nice for reporting as well. We'll enter into your meetings module, but it will also show up on your calendar. That way you can see the appointments that you have for the day inside of one interface. You don't have to jump from interface to interface. So if you want to automatically sync your main calendar with Zoho Calendar, you can do that. You got to make sure that your emails are automatically being brought into Zoho and then associated to the respective records. And the way that you can do that automatically is through the IMAP integration. Essentially what this will do is it will connect with your inbox. And then as emails are being sent back and forth, whether they're being sent from Zoho Campaigns, Zoho CRM, marketing automation, it will port them over, and then it will find their record based on their email address. And then it will populate this email section, whether it's a lead, contact, it will roll up to the accounts. You'll even have the ability to surface emails related to deals. Some of this will be applicable to you depending on if you're B2B or B2C. But the idea is once you connect this IMAP, Zoho will automatically bring in your emails and organize it throughout your system for you. Now, as you grow, you may be a solopreneur looking at this and just you're looking to set it up for yourself, or you might be a larger organization with hundreds of employees. Either way, everyone needs to do this individually. Unfortunately, you can't do it for someone. So what I mean by that is if you're the admin at your organization and you realize everyone needs to set up their, whether it's Gmail, Zoho Mail, Yahoo, Microsoft, Outlook, whatever it is, everyone has to sign in individually to their account through the email section inside of Zoho CRM, and then it will connect to their inbox and bring all of that correspondence into the records. That's very valuable. It will allow transparency through the organization, and it just keeps things organized. So to sum up, you want to automatically connect to your inbox using the email IMAP integration so that you can sort all of your correspondence correctly within Zoho CRM. If you use Zoho to send out quotes, you're going to love this automation. If you go to a deal record, you'll see that there's a quote section on the left-hand side here. We're going to click on this. We're actually going to add a new quote. I'm just going to do a test record here. We're going to choose Zoho implementation. Then we're going to save this. What's really nice is after you've configured the quote for somebody and you want to send it out, you can actually just go to the quote section. Then from here, you can go to send email. We're actually going to go into the record because you're able to find this button after you click on the three dots at the top right of this record, and then go to send email here. Now, information is going to merge into the template here. We got to choose the template first. So you can see I've got quote template. You'll see information from the line items that were inside of the quote, and all the information associated in the quote has been brought over here. Then I go over to next, and then you can see that it is automatically attached that PDF to this email, and I can send an email out along with the quote automatically. So if you want to be able to bring in information after you created the quote automatically into a PDF and get it ready to send over to a prospective customer, a customer that you already have that's doing recurring business with you, then this is the best way to do that automatically. So we're going to talk about this automation where we take a quote that's been generated inside of Zoho CRM, and then we convert it into a sales order inside of Zoho Books. But it's not going to make much sense why this is useful unless I give you some context. So I'm going to give you some context real quick. We've got different modules inside of Zoho CRM and inside of different applications. Some of these modules include leads, deals, contacts, accounts, tasks, quotes. Inside of Zoho Books, we got financial record types, and then all these other records have their own, all these other different applications have their own record types, okay? And these record types or modules can also be referred to more technically as objects. And objects are just things in real life that are being digitally represented. For example, this is really important. Just hang in with me for a couple minutes and I'll bring this all home. A contact represents a person. An account represents an organization. A deal represents a qualified opportunity to do business with someone, and a lead represents an unqualified opportunity to do business with somebody, okay? A quote represents what could be purchased by either a potential customer or an existing customer, okay? That's what a quote is. Now, the reason that I bring these things up is some people are so confused. They're like, why can't it just be one record? Well, it's really simple why. You could have one opportunity with someone. Let's say you offer physical goods and someone is interested in 10 of your products. And so they say, send me a quote. I want to see how much it's going to cost. You generate the quote and you send it over to them. And then they say to themselves, I was interested in 10, but I actually really want 5. Well, you want a historical record of sending 2 quotes now, the first quote with 10 products and the second quote with 5. And you can't store all that information on one record. The record would be like 1,000 pages long if you just combined all these modules together, okay? And you don't have to go into the subject, but there's what's called data normalization, which is how to make data database ready. It's breaking the rules of normal forms to store information that belongs on a quote on a deal. Okay, you can do it. There's some cases where I'm like, let's just break the rules for the sake of a user experience, but most of the time you can't. Okay, so I told you what a quote represents, right? A quote is what someone could purchase, okay? And then we've got a sales order. And a sales order lives inside of Zoho Books/inventory. So if you have a quote, you send it over to someone, and they're like, great, let's move forward. You need to now convert this quote into a sales order because a quote is what could be purchased. A sales order is the commitment to purchasing ABC goods, okay? It's the commitment to purchase. And a sales order then breaks into 2 things, okay? The sales order has the financial obligation, which is what you need to pay. And then those would be the invoices. And you can potentially have multiple invoices against a sales order. I'm not saying this is always the case. I'm just saying these are why these different records exist. Okay, there's reasons for it. So within a sales order, you can have multiple invoices because you could say half up front, half later for the goods, half right now. We'll order them. We'll get them out of the warehouse and send them over to you. And then you have the half once they're actually delivered. Okay, so you could have 2 invoices. And then you have the other side of a sales order, which is the actual shipping, the commitment that you have to actually send them the goods that they purchased. You can even use sales order for services, but we just won't go, or for non-physical products. Like if you're selling courses, you can do that, but we're just going to stick with the physical one for now. And the physical will look like you have packages and then you have shipments, right? So you have sales order, packages, shipments, and then you have sales order, invoices, and then payments. And those are different kinds of records that represent real things digitally. That's why we call them objects. So lots of objects, right? You could potentially have a lead that converts to a deal contact account, from the deal a quote, from a quote a sales order, then from a sales order a package shipment, and then from a sales order an invoice payment. Okay, so it gets a little crazy. Now that's the backdrop for what's actually important for this automation. Okay, so now that you have the context, this will make sense. Let's go into a record here and show you in the quote. We already have a quote generated for us. I have this script right here. And this script right here deconstructs the quote, and then it recreates it inside Zoho Books as a sales order, okay? The reason that this is important is Zoho CRM itself doesn't have the ability to send invoices and collect payment or track shipments. It's just not capable of doing that, okay? Zoho CRM is built with sales in mind, but not necessarily finance and fulfillment, okay? So finance and fulfillment is Zoho Books and Zoho Inventory, whereas Zoho CRM is primarily built for sales and to store your customer information, okay? So through that lens, some people don't use Zoho CRM and Zoho Books, so Zoho CRM hasn't included all the things that Books can do inside of the application. And so that's why they live separately. But the reason you should use quotes, because you can also use quotes inside of Zoho Books, which is great. But the reason you may not want to do that is because you don't have sometimes you don't want to give your sales reps access to Zoho Books too. That's an important thing to understand. That's a good first note. A good second note is when your reps create quotes inside of Zoho CRM, they have access to what's called CPQ, configure price quote. The value of the CPQ functionality, it allows you a lot of automation that you otherwise wouldn't have access to, okay? And so you want to make sure you're generating quotes inside of CRM because number one, you have access to CPQ, which is additional automation to create these quotes that are very helpful. And then number two, you don't always want to give your reps access to your entire financial database or your bookkeeping solution or your accounting system. You don't want to do that. And so you want to keep it in CPQ. But then once the deal is done, they've signed, you've sent them the quote. Maybe they haven't even signed, you just sent them the quote and they've committed to it. That's when you'd want to actually go into the record, use this script. And when you click on this button, it will execute the script and then take you to the sales order. You don't have to have it take you to the sales order. I just do that for demonstration's sake. And that is the best practice for going from a quote to a sales order. Let's talk CPQ functionality. This is going to be relevant to you if you send quotes. And if you deal with quotes, if you're a sales manager, if you're in sales, anything surrounding the quotes module, you're going to want to stick around. If you have nothing to do with quotes and you don't want to worry about it, you can skip past this section. Okay, so CPQ stands for configure price quote. And I'm going to show you exactly where in the workflow this actually kicks in. So if I go over to a deal record, I'm in a deal record right now. A deal, by the way, right here, this represents a qualified opportunity to do business with someone. So let's just say we sell microphones. This is our company. We sell microphones. You're selling for this company. And someone comes in as a lead, you have a discussion with them, they meet your qualification criteria, budget, authority, need, timeline, and you're like, great, you're qualified. Let's talk about products. And they say, we want products A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they're different kinds of products that you offer. And they're kind of vague with their requirements. They're doing an event and they're like, we need a bunch of microphones so we can set them up and get them wired in before the event starts. And you start asking a bunch of questions on this call, okay? You're diving into the needs. And they say, you know what? We think you have a good understanding of what we need. Go ahead and send us a quote so we can see how much it would cost for you to supply our microphones for this event. Well, great. And it's a panel event. There's a bunch of panelists and there's a bunch of speakers. Well, I can go over to quotes and then I can go over to new and create a quote for them. Okay. So this is post call. I've got all my notes on what I need. And this is where CPQ kicks in, is this quoted items section. So CPQ is very relevant to organizations with lots of SKUs. If you're dealing with lots of different kinds of products, then you are really going to want to use CPQ because this is the crux of the issue. Is when I go here to select products, I don't have the best user interface for scrolling through them. I can make it a little better by going here. Now, keep in mind, this is a demo instance, so all of this doesn't accurately reflect any of these services. This is just an example to show you what products might look like here, okay? But let's pretend that we had hundreds and hundreds of SKUs, maybe even over 1,000 SKUs. It would be a little overwhelming to go page by page and go through all of these, right? That would be really confusing. You could make it a little easier by searching for a product code or product name, but it's still not the best workflow for selecting these products. So this is where CPQ kicks in, configure price quote. That's what CPQ stands for. You've got guided selling, you've got product configurator and price rules. Now, technically guided selling isn't an automation, but we're going to go over it anyways, just because I want to. And we're going to start with guided selling here. So guided selling makes the selection process of your own products easier on the rep or whoever's creating the quote. So if I go to microphone questionnaire, this guided selling essentially gives me a series of fields to select, to filter by, and it contextualizes the field with a question. So what product category is the prospect customer looking into? You could make this whatever you'd want, and then they would go through your rep, select all the questions, click submit, and the output would be, hey, based on all of the filters that you selected or all the filters for the fields you selected, this is what's left. So it narrows down the scope of the products that you're looking at so you can select the right ones, okay? So that's guided selling. Let's talk, and so you can configure guided selling in this interface. It's really nice, it's very clean. And then you got product configurator. Now, this is a bit different. Product configurator, let's just give ourselves a different example here. Let's say in my organization, if I quote someone a Zoho implementation, it has to be paired with a discovery engagement, right? Discovery engagement here, Zoho implementation. I could set up this rule so when someone is creating a quote and they select Zoho implementation, it automatically adds a line item underneath it with Zoho discovery engagement, okay? That way, when we send the quote over to a prospective client, they can see the breakdown of line items. So they don't just see one we want to send them an itemized quote. We don't want to send them a quote with just one item, which is Zoho help. Okay, we want to break it down so they can see what they're actually paying for. I can do this automatically through the product configurator. So it's essentially a workflow rule, which is when Zoho implementation is selected, this rule will be applied to all quotes, then add this mandatory Zoho discovery accelerator line item, okay? It's a very simplified overview of what these automations do. Okay, guided selling kind of excluded as an automation, but you get what I mean. We got price rules. Okay, so let's say that I wanted to add, this is just a made up product here. Let's say RFID kit was something that I sold with my microphone business. Okay, this is a kit of microphones set up, tutorial, maybe something like that. And I wanted to say, hey, when someone orders a certain volume of these kits, okay, from 100 to 200, I want to discount 10% from the list price of the quoted items, okay? So not just at the quote level, at the line item level on the list price, I want to knock off 10%. Well, I can do that from here, which is great. So this just allows you to automate different actions on the product level. Okay, it's a very sophisticated system for automating what you're doing to the product pricing and things like that. And here for adding items that need to be bundled together or that are offered together, just so you bake it into the system, it leaves less room for human error, and it just allows you to do less and achieve more in the quotes module. If you have a website, you are going to want to track visitors and visits to your website, and you want to do it automatically. And the best way to do that is through Zoho Sales IQ. This is Zoho Sales IQ. Once you set it up, you get an embed code that you can throw on your website, and then Zoho Sales IQ will start tracking. You might think to yourself, I already do this with Google Analytics. Great. Pair it with Zoho Sales IQ. Zoho Sales IQ is more pragmatic in the way that they collect their information. They don't count bounces as much. There's some benefits in the way it's collecting data. And so go with Zoho Sales IQ. It gets less of the fluff, and it shows you really the people who have actually visited your website, which I like. You'll notice between like Google Search Console, Sales IQ, and Google Analytics, you're getting a little bit of different metrics. That's okay. They have different requirements for what they consider a bounce and a visit and a visitor. So with that, you want to automate the collection of this information, okay? The visitors that are coming to your website and the visits that they've had. Then you can roll up that information into an analytics dashboard to give you an idea of, how well is the funnel going from the efforts that we have driving people to the website? Is the website performing? Do we have a good visit duration, or is it pretty low? You want to get all those metrics so that you can optimize your website in the best way possible, and you can do it automatically with Zoho Sales IQ. You should automatically have your data going from Zoho CRM into Zoho Campaigns or Zoho Marketing Automation. You got to make a decision between the two because you can't have the integration between Zoho CRM currently with Zoho Campaigns and Zoho Marketing Automation at the same time. There's a lot of overlap, by the way, between Campaigns and Marketing Automation. If you are looking for some direction on if you should go with Marketing Automation versus Campaigns, I suggest Marketing Automation because it can do more, okay? One of the examples of something that it can do that Zoho Campaigns doesn't offer is you're able to create a landing page in Zoho Marketing Automation, which is great because for a lot of organizations, their marketing department is separate from, let's say, like the IT team or whoever's managing the website. So they can create these landing pages independently for the campaigns they're running to collect leads or generate leads without having to go through the person managing the website, which is great. Okay. With that being said, Zoho Marketing Automation, you want to automate the contacts that are coming into Zoho CRM, and you want to automatically have that populate the marketing automation database, because each of these applications that we're looking at here, each of these have a different storage engine. And you may think to yourself, well, I'm in Zoho 1. Like, why is that the case? Why are each of these applications, why do they have their own storage engine? Zoho 1 would lead you to believe that there's one storage engine for all these applications. That's not how things work, okay? That's just a naive understanding, honestly, of the platform, because each of these applications can be purchased individually, okay? And because they can be purchased individually, and you have to understand these applications, a lot of them have been built, have been developed for over a decade. So they've existed independently for a long time. Zoho 1 came along a lot later. I think in 2017, they released Zoho 1, and Zoho's been around for much longer. And so the reason I bring that up is you still have to integrate the databases, because Zoho doesn't assume which applications you're going to use. Even if you get Zoho 1, they're like, just because they're offering these applications, they aren't all set up out of the box. So you got to choose the applications you're going to use and choose the applications you're going to integrate, because it's not going to make those assumptions for you. You have to set it up, okay? So you may think that's a drawback. That's essentially how every platform works. There's some platforms I could point you to where that's not the case, but then they don't have as much functionality. And so there's always a drawback. There's always a pro and a con, right, to certain system setups. I still think Zoho 1's the best for this though. Okay, I digress. Let's talk about the automation here. So CRM has a different database. How do we solve for that? Well, if I go to settings here, and then I go over to our apps under integrations, you're going to see I've got LinkedIn, Zoho CRM Message Media. This is great. I'm going to select Zoho CRM. If I hadn't already selected it, I'd go to Connect App, and then I'd find Zoho CRM and I'd want to connect with that. Okay, I'd want to make sure that the contacts and the leads are coming over. As a start, you can do more with this. This is just how I like to get this set up initially. So I'm set up for success in the platform. In Zoho Campaigns, if you choose to go against my recommendation, which is fine, maybe you're already on Zoho Campaigns and you're married to it and you don't want to move over, that's fine. I've seen a lot of clients, by the way, who don't do this, have this set up to run automatically. They do it manually. It's a huge pain. I've seen people, they're constantly exporting from Zoho CRM, importing to Zoho Campaigns. I'm like, with just a little bit of understanding of the platform, you'd save so much time and energy, which is why I make a lot of these videos. So with that, inside of Zoho Campaigns, if you go to contacts, then sync services, you're going to see one for Zoho CRM. You can associate new account. I'm not going to do that right now because I already have it running with Zoho Marketing Automation. But this is how you can automatically take your database from Zoho CRM and bring it into your marketing automation platform or Zoho Campaigns. Once you have your database inside of Zoho Campaigns or Zoho Marketing Automation, you want to segment your database properly. So once you get all your leads and contacts loaded in, you have what's called a cluster situation. The cluster means you have no good way of identifying who is who. Okay, so let's, for example, say that after someone purchases a product, I want to upsell and cross-sell similar products that I think would be useful. And I want to have a segment for upsell, cross-sell. That way, when someone purchases, I can automatically send them a series of communications. Well, I can't do that unless I break the cluster up into segments. Okay. And so here's two example segments that I have in campaigns, and then two that I have inside of Zoho Marketing Automation, just to give you some ideas of things you can do here automatically. But the principle is you can set the criteria in advance for a segment and then automatically have parts of your database properly organized so that when you send out an email, when you create a sequence, you can say it's based on this segment in my database. Okay. So we're not going to do a full-fledged tutorial on how to build out segments, but it's important to understand that Zoho can automatically segment your contact/leads database if you choose to bring in leads too for you so that you don't have to do it manually. So I give portal access to my clients, but there's this joke with portals that no one actually uses portals. And that's been my experience, is that it's cool when you initially onboard someone and you say, hey, you can check out all your information here. But I want to bring the portal to my clients so they don't have to even deal with the hassle of going to the URL, logging in, forgetting their password, not being able to access the information, they're freaking out. So every week I send my clients an email that looks like this. This is an earlier version that we had created of this automation, but we automatically send out a list of tasks that have been, a list of action items or tasks that have been completed against their account, along with other critical information such as the hours they have left on their account if we're doing an hours-based SOW, okay? So we're bringing the portal information to the people automatically, right? We don't want our clients to have that hassle. We do this automatically through Zoho Flow. So the first part of the Zoho Flow is deciding when it's actually going to occur. When is this automation going to start? We do this on a weekly basis. Okay. And then we made a strategic development decision here instead of grabbing information from Zoho projects, because as you can see here, this is information that's coming over from Zoho projects. These are the tasks. These are their task statuses. These are their created time. And then we have asset links here. Usually we link to either a Loom video or to the exact URL in their system, to the asset that was completed, okay, what we worked on. That way they can jump directly to it. Now, what we actually do here, instead of grabbing the information from Zoho projects, we grab it from Zoho Analytics. So Zoho Analytics, if you're familiar, is a BI tool. It allows you to connect to different applications. One of the applications you can connect to and automatically sync with is Zoho projects. So we automatically bring all that data into Zoho Analytics, and then we have all these different views. Okay, and we've determined that this view, the one that looks like this right here, this is the one that we're going to grab information from, okay? So then you have to do something kind of interesting. In Zoho Analytics API, they require you to schedule a job. And you say to Zoho Analytics, you ping this URL and you say via code, you do this all via code, and you say, hey, we want you to take this view ID and get all the information, okay? And so you schedule that job. Then you've got to wait a little bit. And then once the job's finished, you can extract that information, create a client email list. The way that we've done this is we essentially go inside of Zoho projects. We iterate through, or we go through every single Zoho project. We loop through all those. And we say, hey, for every single project, we want to take the clients that we've added to the portal. So it doesn't go to every single person in their organization. We just want the people with portal access getting this email on a routine basis. It's usually the key stakeholders of the client, whether it be one or many. And then we also get the hours left for their account. Our Zoho project is named the same thing as their account, which has the hours remaining. And that's a whole other automation that we've created too, to iterate through the hours left on their Zoho project. We essentially take that information, we add up all the timesheets, we bring that over to their account. We also, from the invoices that they paid, we add up all the hours, and then we bring that over to hours purchased, and then hours used, and then we get the difference, okay? And that's hours left. So we get the hours left field. So this is building off some other automations that we've created. Then we get the task info on the job ID. So we're just getting all the information from that job, and we have a delay here, because we have to schedule that as well, and then send clients task info. Let me show you this one. It's kind of fun to look at the code sometimes. I know this can be overwhelming, but trust me, it's good to understand this stuff. It is really helpful. Okay, so this script's not too bad, not too crazy to look at. Essentially what we're doing is grabbing the view, defining the view ID. We have the project ID list, the org ID, and essentially what we're doing here is we're building the email. Okay, so if they have no hours, we don't include that in the email. You can see this text. We're defining the subject, the actual message. That's exactly what we've done here, right? Here's the text. We change the text around, you can see. And then here is the task as well, okay? So if we want to push people booking with us, we can include our Calendly, and we want to include that link to the portal. You can see here, here's the link to the portal, just so people can, if they want to, kind of get the teaser from the email, and then they can go into the portal from there. Usually they don't. Usually people just want to say, hey, we talked about this on a meeting. Has that been completed? Great. And then we sort this by created time so that they're seeing everything from top to bottom in terms of what was most recently worked on, okay? And then if they do have hours, I actually changed this, so now they're pretty much exactly the same because we moved a lot of our clients over from hourly based billing to fixed. We want to test a lot of different ways of servicing our clients. So really now just depends on their situation. Either way, the nice thing is we can send out these emails automatically. I don't have to worry about it. And I know my clients are getting updates on what's being worked on. This automation is really interesting. If you don't know anything about RB2B, it's a software for visitor level identity recognition. I'm sure they call it a bunch of other things too, but it's essentially looking at your website. RB2B has a big database. There's a code that you put on your website, and every time a visitor comes to your website, it looks at the IP address. And in its big database, think of like a spreadsheet, it will look through this database, and if it finds an IP match, right? If the IP address is 1234 and they have a billion rows here, and one of them says 1234, and there's a match, they'll grab the email, the LinkedIn profile, first name, last name. They'll grab a bunch of information and they'll say, hey, where do you want us to send it? Which brings us to this page here, which is where do you want to send the match? Okay. So it's creepy, right? If you just go to their website and all of a sudden there's a lead generated in the person's system that you went to their website, it's a bit weird, but it's also really powerful, right? And what's powerful about it is you can essentially recognize opportunities with key clients, large organizations, ideal customers, and say they visited my website. I'm going to send them an email. I'm going to connect with them on LinkedIn and continue the conversation. Okay. So it's inbound led outbound. So it's a little better than just pure outbound where you have no idea if they have any interest in you. You have at least one signal. They visited the website, they visited a key page, whatever it is, to inform the decision to do outbound. Okay. So it also helps with prioritization. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is it may not be 100% applicable to you, but I find it interesting, and this gives you a good idea of what Zoho's capable of doing, especially on the lead gen front. If you want to generate leads from your website visitors, why not? RB2B is free to try, and you can just see how many leads you're getting. You can see how we're doing this though, right? When it finds a match, it's saying, where do you want us to send the information? I've got all these options out of the box, and then I've got webhook, okay? Webhook allows us to go pretty much anywhere we want. Fortunately, inside of Zoho Flow, we can trigger an automation based on a webhook, okay? And what we're doing here, if we go over to Logic, I grab RB2B, and then I go over to Custom Functions, is we are deconstructing the information that comes from a payload. Think about a payload like this. Think about it in like... if you've ever seen in a movie when like in the military, they fly a plane over and they drop something and it falls down and it's like supplies for a bunch of people in the military. That's a payload. Okay. They're dropping, or if they're dropping like a bomb, I guess that's a payload too. Never mind that. This is a payload. It's essentially information that one system is sending to another, right? So I told you in this scenario, RB2B finds an IP match and then they have a row of information. They have first name, last name, email, IP address, all this info that they've matched. That information in those cells in that row in their database, they format that into JSON, which it's JSON. It's like JavaScript object notation. And that cluster of information becomes the payload, okay? And then they push that payload to a webhook. And it's basically just using a URL. They basically hit enter in the URL, goes to this webhook, and then we have this information. Now we got to deconstruct it. So you can see now we're basically putting labels on all the information here. We're infoing it out so that when we run this, we can actually see the information that came from a specific payload. And then we're creating a lead, right? This is the key thing. We want to generate leads in our system so that we can now make some better decisions. Once the lead's in our system, if we've captured that as raw leads, you'd want to categorize this real quick as a raw lead. This isn't a sales ready lead, right? This is a marketing ready lead, you could say, if you validate their email on top of this. I'm going to take a step back. This automation also triggers other automations. We validate the emails that come into our Zoho instance. That way, if we get an IP match from RB2B and it has a bad email, we don't end up sending them follow-up emails. We don't market to them, okay? So if you need to adhere to GDPR compliance, I'd be careful with this because you're not really getting express permission to market to somebody. But if you get their LinkedIn profile, maybe you don't want to email them. Maybe you want to connect with them on LinkedIn via a tool like Lemlist. Okay. So there's a lot of different options for how to do this. I just want to give you an understanding of, hey, how APIs work and a cool automation surrounding APIs, okay, which is the RB2B to Zoho CRM leads module integration / automation. Okay. So really simple. When there's someone on my website, RB2B is looking through my website. They have an IP match with their database. They send me that information. And so I can see I've had bigger brands or organizations that I'd want to work with have visited my website, as you can imagine, more than they have submitted forms on my website. So this gives me information. Then I go follow them on LinkedIn. I connect with them on LinkedIn. Then when I'm posting on LinkedIn, they can enter kind of that acquisition channel LinkedIn versus usually when I'm just posting on YouTube. Okay. So that is the idea here, automatically generating leads from visitors on your website. Here's a problem that I solve with this automation. When a lead is generated in my system, let's say someone fills out my book a free consultation form. I don't know how long they've been in business, and it makes a big difference to me when I'm meeting with someone who just started their business this year versus someone who's been in business for 15, 20 years. Big difference because a more established organization is more likely to have the funds, to be more serious about it. It's not always the case, but it's just a good signal for me. It's a good piece of data. So you can see here on the lead record, I've got this field domain age in days. We divide that by 365 to get possible business age in years. Now, there are better ways to do this. If you watch this section in this video about using Clay, I could use an AI assistant to look through their website and find exactly how long they've been in business based on their About Us page or something like that. Okay. So or I could use their LinkedIn profile, see how long their company LinkedIn profile has been around. There's a couple ways you can kind of extract this, but you can see why this wouldn't be perfect, right? Domain age, they might have switched their domain this year, but they've been in business for 20 years. We just don't know, but it's an indicator, right? It's not supposed to be perfect. It's just supposed to give us something to go off of, helps us better prepare for those initial discussions, okay? So how do I do this? And again, there's multiple ways to do this. I'm showing you one way to skin the cat. There's many other ways to do it as well. Again, this is really just to give you an understanding of how powerful Zoho is, as opposed to showing you this is exactly how you have to need to use this, because you may be thinking to yourself, this isn't applicable. We'll take the principle of automation away and it's going to be helpful. Okay, so new lead. A new lead is generated in my system. That's when this whole thing starts. We use zero bounce. Zero bounce validates the email. It also extracts information such as how long is the domain that we've extracted here, drewbrockbank.com. How long is that domain been around? How long has that existed? Okay. From there, we got a decision tree. And the decision says, are they invalid emails or are they valid emails? That will make the determination in the system for how we're going to update the record, right? So if it's a valid email address, we mark it valid. If it's not, we mark it invalid, okay? There's a lot more that goes into that, but that's not really the point of this section. The point of this section is that's how we get the information here, right? So once it goes through this decision, each update will take the domain age, add it here, and then we just use this as a formula field inside of Zoho CRM. We could do it code side, right? We could do it in the automation. Why not just do it inside of a formula field and say, hey, this value divided by 365 will be this value, okay? And that's how we get possible business age in years. I could put org age. That'd probably be even a better label there for the field. And then I'll take a step back. Think about it this way. These automations initially just start with a minimum viable automation. Then you can get crazy with the different tweaks that you make, possible org age instead of business age. But sometimes it's just majoring in the minors to make those changes when you really should be focusing on the most important thing on your list, right? We've all got giant lists of things to do. Strategy is prioritization. It's deciding what's going to be on the top. So is this the top thing? Not for me, even though it could be a little important from a user experience. Okay. So with that, that's an automation. on how you can extract domain age to give you an indication of how long an organization's been around, gives you an idea of how established they are, and it will allow you to gauge the lead correctly. They've been in business longer and they're a larger organization, they're more established, it's probably a better lead than if they started just yesterday. Let's talk lead conversion automation. It can be really confusing, but I'm going to make it very clear for you, okay? So inside of Zoho CRM, you've got the leads module. A lead represents unqualified opportunities. The deals module represents qualified opportunities. So that can relate to businesses and nonprofits. A nonprofit example would be if you manage a large fund and there are certain people that need to qualify so they can be a recipient of the grant. That's a nonprofit example of leads would be the initial application or submission of a form to receive the grant. Then you need to go through your assessment process. If they qualify for the grant, then they're an opportunity. Here it says opportunity. In Zoho CRM, it's called a deal, which is just a qualified opportunity, okay? Then you have a for-profit example. Let's just take my organization. If someone fills out the form on my website, I don't want to muddy up my account, my deals module, and my contacts module. And so they just stay as a lead until I actually have a discussion with them, at which point I determine if they're qualified or not. I use budget authority need timeline. That's BANT. It's a framework in which you can use to guide your qualification. Okay. Do they have the budget to afford what I'm offering? Are they the right person? That's authority. Do they need what I'm offering? Can I deliver on the time frame that's needed? If so, I convert them. It really depends too. I want them to say, yeah, send me a proposal. Then I usually will convert them if I feel like they're a good fit in addition to that. But the lead is an interesting record. It's kind of like a holding area. I'm going to take a step back with you. There was this story, I think my girlfriend had told me it. And it's a story of a lady. Well, it's not a crazy story. Basically, a lady was talking about how she used her island in her kitchen as a place to put all of the kind of junk that was like collected throughout the day. So if her kids were throwing things on the floor, like there was these random objects, she'd throw them all there. And it was supposed to be messy throughout the day because she knew that at the end of the day, she'd go there and she knew there was one place to go to see where all the junk and crazy stuff was to then sort them out later. So if she didn't have time in the moment to take the toy and put it in the box or whatever to clean it, she'd put it on the island first, and then she would go there at the end of the day to sort things out later. I'm not saying that's what women are good for. I'm just saying that was this story, okay? So in this example, I love it because it applies so well to the leads module. The leads module is supposed to be messy. Think about it as a filtration system or a place where you hold your information until it's ready to move forward, okay? You want to keep your accounts module, your contacts module, and your deals module very clean. Leads is inherently messy. That's what it's for. But we don't want to give anyone with a heartbeat and a Wi-Fi connection the ability to add an account in our system, a contact in our system, and a deal in our system. We only want them to go here. And there's a shield, and we hold it up until we see that they're qualified, they're legit, and then they can move forward. So that is the purpose of the leads module. It's not applicable to you that are doing B2C. It's very applicable to you that are doing B2B. For you you can use it in B2C, but most of the time I just say, hey, create a contact, okay? So that is an example for lead conversion. How does this actually take place? Well, you will see a convert button in the leads module. So you can see we're in the leads module here. This is one of the core modules. Again, leads, deals, contacts, accounts. And then if I zoom out here and then go over to convert, this is how we actually execute this little infographic where lead information can potentially become the account, the contact, and the opportunity. So when I hit convert, you're going to see that it says contact with similar details and email already exist. So I can add to an existing contact. If I see one, great, I can do that. I also can create a new one. Now, if I had deal information, then it would also ask me if I wanted to create a deal and it would show account too. But I'm going to show you how we determine what information from the lead will end up on an account, a deal, and a contact. How do we determine where the information goes upon conversion? How does this automation actually work? Well, I think number one, this automation is extremely useful. I mean, think about it this way, from a quality of life perspective inside the system. Do you want to, if you get a phone call and you have to add information in the system, Do you want to add it into one form first, the lead creation page form, and then convert it so that it automatically creates 3 records that tie to each other? Or do you want to individually create the account, then the contact individually, and then the deal individually, and then associate them all together? You want the automation to do it for you. That's where lead conversion comes in handy. So here you can see all the different fields on the lead module on the left-hand side, and then we've got the account and the contact and the deal. And we're saying, where do we want to put information from the lead on the account, contact, and deal? Or do we even want to? That's the other question. Do we want the lead information to end up on the account or contact? You can see here, the UTM parameters are making its way over to the deal, but it's not making its way over to contact and account. We could change that. There's some value in, if you know anything about UTM tracking, it's like marketing tracking. Could be valuable to have it on the account and contact. Actually is valuable in a lot of ways, but we're just not doing that in this demo. But this is how we determine where the information goes so that when you actually convert, finally hit convert, if I do this, we're then determining create new deal, for example. Here we go. Then when I hit convert, we're determining how this information is flowing through the contact, the deal, and the account. So that is the lead conversion mapping automation. I love this simple automation instead of Zoho marketing automation. It just allows me to schedule emails so that when I, for example, create a video such as this, and I want to send it to people in my list, I can do that with ease. So you can see this is an email that was previously scheduled. It's been sent, and this is the email that was sent out. So I can send these out. This one looks different than it sent out. So the preview is a little messy right here and here, but that's okay. The idea behind this is instead of sending it out as soon as you create it, you can schedule it, and then you can build a host of automations around that. But I just love in Zoho marketing automation that I'm able to schedule these mass marketing emails, and then I don't have to worry about I create the video, schedule when that's going to be published, and then I can schedule this so that not only am I releasing it to YouTube, I'm releasing it to my list of contacts. Text/SMS automation. You can see I've got this plugin called Smooth Messenger. It's a great plugin, absolute must-have for those of you who want to send text and use SMS with Zoho. Okay, so Smooth Messenger is in the marketplace. So if you go to the Zoho marketplace, you're going to see Smooth Messenger, recently acquired by Message Media. So if you're using Message Media, then you can use the Smooth Messenger plugin, and it's an absolute fantastic tool for Zoho CRM users. It allows you to use essentially a iMessage-like user interface and user experience to send out text. But let's talk automation, okay? Because there's a lot of cool features with this extension, but we're talking automation. So if I back out of here and I want to send out a SMS blast, okay? So the same message, maybe some personalization to a bunch of different people. How do I do it? Well, I can go to all my reached leads as an example. You could do this in contacts as well. Then I can go over to this button at the top right, and then I can go to send bulk smooth SMS. When I click that, I enter this interface where I can essentially from here build my template, select a template that I've created before, and build my message. Okay. Now, merge fields will be populated when you send the message. So if I want to do some merge fields here too, I can certainly do that. So I can say, hey, and then first name, we have an exciting sale. We have an exciting offer for you, ... Cool. And then you can add emojis too, which is great. If you want to further personalize that, then you certainly can. If I want to add a new template, go here. I can add a template name, decide which module it's going to be a part of, current record, select merge field. Great. I have all these merge fields I can use too, and attachments. So very powerful tool to be able to send SMS or text in bulk and personalize them at scale. Okay, great feature here that you should be aware of if you want to automatically send out SMS messages from Zoho CRM. You can automatically send text messages or SMS messages from Zoho CRM using the workflow rule builder. You can see in instant actions when a lead is created. As an example here, we can go over to send smooth SMS. We can see we can throw in a description. We can see who should be notified of replies. We can say the owner of the record or yourself, the person currently building the workflow rule. You can choose the from number that you're going to send out to. And then you can also determine what number you're going to send out to all possible numbers, the phone number that's actually on the record itself, then the record to link to. It should be the leads module, right? Because we're building this on the leads module, as you can see here at leads. Okay, that's what we built the workflow rule on. That's why it's pulling from there. Then the message template, we can choose if we want to use this from the current record. This is what we're determining where the merge fields are going to come from, right? So we can do hashtag, allows us to tap into some level of personalization. And we're just saying, hey, when you hit hashtag, do you want to bring it over from current record, lien owner, modified by, created by, where we bring that information over from, okay? Then we've got select merge field. So this is all the information we can grab from. We do lead owner, you're going to notice this changes, right? So current record, here's all the fields in current record, lead owner, here's all the merge fields from that, okay? And then from there, we can hit merge fields to personalize the message. And then we can add attachments as well. And this just allows us to automate the sending of SMS/text messages at scale with Zoho CRM. If you want to offer better customer support, then you can do so inside of Zoho Desk with this support email address here. So it's going to give you one out of the box if you already have a pretty address. So for example, this is kind of ugly, support at brockbankagency.zohodesk.com. The Zoho Desk part just looks ugly. It doesn't look very professional. Could you imagine if I had this on my website, the footer? If you need help, email support at brockbankagency.zohodesk.com. It just doesn't look professional. So let's say I had an email that said support at brockbankagency.com for this demonstration. What I would do is I'd set up a forwarding rule. You can see it talks about it here. Create a support address. If you already have one for your company, then you can use forward emails. Okay, so you can use forward emails so that if I get an email from support at brockbankagency.com, it sends automatically, the forwarding rule would automatically send to support at brockbankagency.zohodesk.com. Why do this? What automation are we talking about? Well, if emails are sent here, then we can categorize them or we can represent those different emails as tickets. And essentially what we're doing here with Zoho Desk is we're creating a shared email inbox so that our customer service team can work as a team to tackle the different requests, questions, and issues that are coming our way, and then we represent those as tickets. Think about it. If you went to a restaurant and you make an order, you know how they take the ticket, they put it there so that all the cooks and the people in the back can see it, and then they take each ticket at a time, right? So each of those are just a ticket that they're using to organize the work that they're sifting through. So this is a digital representation of a very similar process to that. So each ticket would be have its own subject that would come over. You can actually have multiple different channels. It doesn't just have to come in from emails. That's just one of the more popular ones. You can have them have tickets enter here from form requests too, but you want to automate it. You don't want to have to manually take every single email that comes into your individual inbox and then put it into Zoho Desk. You want to make sure that it's inside of Zoho. You have this automation set up so that as emails are coming into your pretty email address, they have a forwarding rule over to the ugly email address, which automatically creates their tickets inside of Zoho Desk. Let's talk about this automation where you bring your internal knowledge base and you make it public on your microsite. This is a Zoho Desk thing, by the way. Essentially what we're talking about, to take a step back, is when you're doing customer service. So this is very important for you, those of you who are big on customer service. You're answering all these questions, you're resolving all these tickets, and you answer some of these questions so much they become templates, and then they graduate from maybe snippets to templates to an article. And it's an article that goes in depth with a bunch of information. So it gets more sophisticated as you go. Once you graduate to an article enters a part of Zoho Desk called your knowledge base, your KB. And your knowledge base is all the articles that everyone on the team can pull from so that they can take advantage of it too. So for example, if you've been doing customer service for 10 years and you've generated hundreds of knowledge base articles, someone who's a day oneer, they just joined the organization, they can pull from that same knowledge base that you've built because you're working together as a team. But you want to take it further. You don't want to just automatically have your articles accessible to everyone on the team. You want it to be accessible to those that are visiting your website, because customer service isn't designed just to be reactive. someone doesn't have to submit a ticket to get customer service, because once you've built an article, it's become an asset that can help you do customer service at scale without a person behind it, because someone can visit a microsite such as this, and then they can just go to your knowledge base and search for the answer through search articles. Okay, so this automation is really important. And the nice thing is, once you set up your microsite, you can just configure the settings to automatically enable the knowledge base to be viewable, so that and by the way, you can have your article go through a chain of statuses, so that every article created doesn't necessarily enter the help center. But you can see I have this configured so that my knowledge base is accessible through my microsite. That way I can do customer service at scale. I can be proactive, and that as I'm already building that knowledge base internally for my team, my customers and prospects can take advantage of that as well. One automation that I love inside of Zoho Marketing Automation is they have templates that you can use to automatically create landing pages. In addition to that, what's nice about this is usually when you want to create a landing page, you have to go through the CMS. Okay, so this is for you marketing nerds, or those of you who are on the marketing team, or solopreneurs who are marketing nerds. When you want to create a landing page, normally you have to go through the CMS, content management system. WordPress is the biggest CMS out there, and we're actually moving over from WordPress right now to another platform. Wix is another big one. Webflow, there's a bunch of them. So usually when you want to create a landing page, you have to go through those, and it can take a lot of time. What's nice about Zoho Marketing Automation, and here's another thing, if you're at a big organization, you don't have to just go through the CMS. You may not have access, so you have to go through the team that is managing that. Usually it's a technical team. And so maybe you have to meet with the CTO or something in order to get through to it. And what's nice about this is, instead of all that hassle, you can just automatically generate a landing page through this section here in landing pages. So create a page, you can hit test here, you get your own subdomain, and you can start collecting leads without having to go through the hassle of your CMS and whatever team is gatekeeping the CMS. They've got really nice looking templates here that you can use. They look great. Here's just an example. I am really into design, and so some of these, like I'd want a really nice one that I could go ham on. Okay, so let's just choose this one as an example. So they've already created the base. You choose it, it automatically creates the page for you. Obviously, you got to do some level of customization, so it's not automatic, but it's really helpful. Here's the other thing that's nice, is if you're just trying to capture basic lead information, you can even make this, you can edit the form too, so you can collect additional information. So I want to collect name as well, put that there, and then save it. I can collect lead information automatically from this page and automatically add them to Zoho Marketing Automation. And then through the Zoho Marketing Automation integration with Zoho CRM, I can automatically have leads that are being generated inside of Zoho Marketing Automation pushing over to the leads module. Okay, so that's super helpful to be able to very quickly see how quickly I did this. Create a landing page, create a form, automatically capture, publish this. I can go to next here just so you can see kind of the rest of this flow. This is valuable how quickly you can do this. You can even configure this for search engine optimization. So this is easier for search engines to rank. And then I can publish these, okay? Publish it to a microsite, and then I can start running campaigns, push the campaign traffic here to this landing page. So this is nice for marketing nerds. Anyone who wants to create a landing page, you can do that through Zoho Marketing Automation by using their templates. And then you can automatically collect leads and then push that to Zoho CRM. When you send out invoices, you want to make sure that the system, being Zoho Books, sends reminders for you automatically so that you don't waste time doing it manually. And the way that you do that is in the reminder section of Zoho Books. You can see here, I have 3 reminders. I have reminder 1, 3, 7. Each of these numbers represents the days after the reminder, after the due date of the invoice, in which I'm teaching the system to send reminders for me. So you got this manual reminders section and automated reminders. So for the first one, I have 1 day after due date, then I have a second one, 3 days after the due date, and then finally 7 days after the due date. I could add another reminder that after that, it actually sends me a reminder saying, hey, someone hasn't paid after X amount of days. You can put whatever cadence you want, but the important thing here is that you teach Zoho Books your reminder cadence for your customers so that you don't forget to remind your customers to pay their invoice. The best part of Zoho Analytics is it automatically syncs data from other applications and platforms, brings them into Zoho Analytics as a BI tool, standing for business intelligence, and allows an automatic sync of all your reports. I love this feature. If we go to add data sources, we can see all the different applications in which we can do this with. We can sync data from these apps, bring all the information and data into Zoho Analytics, and then update our reports. Now, it doesn't happen in real time. You can make it happen in real time by tapping into their API, and you can create a row if whatever tool you want to integrate with has an API or a workflow builder. You can push the information in real time, but most of the time, a 3-hour data sync is completely fine. And I've never had a client complain about the automatic sync delay happening every couple hours. But I have had some clients request initially that some reports happen in real time, and you can accomplish that. But look at all these platforms, some of them in the Zoho ecosystem, some of them outside of the Zoho ecosystem. This is an extremely crucial automation for those of you who are doing reporting. Once you set up a data sync inside of Zoho Analytics will automatically create dashboards and reports for you. You can see here in this dashboards Zoho Sales IQ section in Zoho Analytics, got a chat overview dashboard, marketing dashboard, visitors tracking dashboard for my dashboards for YouTube, right? So an application in the Zoho ecosystem and an application outside of the Zoho ecosystem. Even Zoho Analytics will create dashboards for me so I can see demographic and geographic insights, engagement insights, traffic playbook, video insights. All these dashboards I did not create. These were created automatically by Zoho Analytics. So I love this automation because you can, instead of creating a dashboard from scratch, look through the different dashboards that Zoho Analytics is creating for you automatically. And then if they have reports that you want, use those instead of wasting your time doing it manually when Zoho Analytics is creating dashboards for you automatically. Automatic sales reminders can be added to workflow rules and cadences, so you don't even have to add the task. That will be automatically added along with the sales reminder. Let me show you what that looks like. We're in the Zoho workflow. We're in the Zoho cadences section. We've got a demonstration cadence here to look at. You can see I've got multiple follow-up Kanban columns here. Now in this follow-up, I got follow-up with new qualified opportunity. I'm going to edit this. This is the form I need to fill out to create the task automatically. Then along with that, we even have the reminder fields configured too, so that it not only creates this, which is the task, which will be associated to the deal, which represents the opportunity. It will also remind me on that day. So I can be proactive about setting up the task and the reminder here in Cadences Studio. And I can add the amount of follow-ups that I feel is necessary for whatever cadence and outreach process, same deal. Okay, cadence is how often do you want to follow up in this outreach process. So I might have an outreach process here for when a lead comes in the door, or when a deal is qualified, or when I send out a proposal. There's multiple times that I could deploy strategically a cadence in my system. Depends on my process, my sales process. Now in here, we've got workflow rules. I'm going to create one from scratch. This is going to help us to clarify how this will all work. We'll do demonstration, automatic sales reminder. Here we're going to do on the record action when a deal is created. We want to, for all deals that are created, because that means a deal created in consulting would be when a opportunity is qualified. So the initial calls had has been executed, or the initial call discovery has happened. Now they've been qualified, they've entered the pipeline. The pipeline isn't the leads module. You could kind of consider that. Usually when people say pipeline, they're referring to the deals module, everything that's qualified. This rule will be executed for all deals, all qualified opportunities, and we're going to have activities assign task. Now here we have a very similar form to what was created before, to what we saw before in cadences, just looks a little different. Just to show you that again, we've got this form and this form, pretty similar. just looks a little different. I can add my subject. We'll do follow up on qualified opportunity. And then trigger date, we can do +1 day. Status not started. High priority task owner would be me. And then notify assignee. We want that to happen along with a reminder. Same day as due date we want 9 a.m. here. Perfect. Alert mode, we want both. I want to pop up in the system. So when I get in the system, it'll pop up and say, hey, reminder to follow up on qualified opportunity. And I want an email sent to my inbox because I really don't want to forget on these opportunities to follow up. I can save and associate. Just like that, once I hit save, this will be enabled in the system. So I'm getting automatic reminders to follow up on different opportunities. And I can also add that to cadences. Really depends on your use case. A workflow rule is simpler to set up, but if you want a longer cadence, you'll want to use Cadences Studio to set up automatic sales reminders. If you want to automatically track the shipments in your organization, you need to use Zoho Inventory, and then you go to the shipping section. Then you have integrations with these different carriers. Okay, so you've got AfterShip. AfterShip is nice because it's not a carrier directly, but it connects with various carriers and then brings that information into Zoho Inventory, and it's developed by Zoho. So check out AfterShip. Okay, it automatically tracks your shipments so that you don't have to do it manually. You got UPS, so if you want to just integrate with a specific carrier, you can do that. UPS, USPS. You got MBA Logistics, also developed by Zoho. It's a reliable shipping network, essentially pings Zoho and then updates your shipment records automatically in Zoho. You got Easy Post and Easy Ship. Don't track these things manually. You can automatically track shipments inside of Zoho Inventory. If you are doing e-commerce and you want to connect with your e-commerce platform, you can do that inside of Zoho Inventory in the shopping cart section. Automatically with Zoho Commerce and Shopify, there's Zoho developed integrations that will automatically grab all of your financial data from those platforms. Will bring over your stock counts so that you can have accurate inventory tracking within Zoho Inventory. So Zoho Commerce is Zoho's e-commerce platform that you can adopt. You also have Shopify. It's a more popular option. A lot of my e-commerce clients are on Shopify. You can set up that integration, automatically have your SKUs pulled in, all your products, all of your product counts, your sales, all of that will port over into Zoho Inventory so you can have a unified platform, Zoho Inventory, to keep track of everything that's going on there. You also have the option for BigCommerce, WooCommerce, not as popular. However, there are third-party integrations that you will be taken to, so you can set that up as well. Then we've got e-commerce in general across Amazon, Etsy, and eBay. Zoho has developed automatic integrations that pull data from these platforms into Zoho Inventory, so you have one single source of truth for what's going on in e-commerce. Don't risk losing your data. Automatically have data backups. Just in case some freak accident happens and you're not able to retrieve your data, if you automatically have data backups scheduled, then you will not have to worry about losing all of your data. So what happens when you schedule a data backup? You'll get a zip file with all your CRM data. You'll get another zip file of all your CRM attachment data. And this happens every single 2 weeks. My data is backed up, so I'm rest assured that not all my data will be lost in case of some kind of accident or change to my system. So make sure to automatically have your data backup scheduled so you don't worry about losing all of your data. Automatically connect with your calendar and allow people to book on your calendar with Zoho Bookings. Zoho Bookings is similar to Calendly. There's one thing that Zoho Bookings doesn't quite do, and once it does it, I'll fully move over to Zoho Bookings. It doesn't allow you to grab UTM parameters once a Zoho Bookings iframe is placed on a website. I really need that for marketing tracking. However, it's still an extremely useful tool. You can create different events, connect with your calendar, and let's say you're using a calendar outside of the Zoho ecosystem. You're using Google Calendar or you're using Outlook and the Microsoft suite of applications. If you're doing that, you can connect with those calendars. That information will be brought in and you'll only see the different slots that are available. You can configure the different events here inside of Zoho Bookings, which allows you to, number one, automatically connect with your calendar and then allow people to book on your calendar. That way you're not going back and forth and saying, hey, this is the times I'm available. What time do you want to meet? Then they change. Then you're doing all asynchronous. You're doing it async and it just doesn't happen. Have Zoho bookings connect with your calendar automatically so people can book with you. Automatically track visitor interaction data on your website through Zoho PageSense. The reason this is so important is you want to make sure that you're capturing this data so that in the future, when you make decisions on how to modify your website, you have data to back up your decisions. So conversion rate optimization. Conversions are the actions you want people to take when they get onto your website. For example, one action I want people to take on my website is book a free consultation, right? I've even got the form right here. So I'm optimized for conversions. Now, some of you might be optimizing for aesthetics. That's fine, but usually there's an action you want people to take on your website. And usually it's a form submission, or if you're doing e-commerce or B2C, it's actually purchasing on the website. So what's nice about Zoho PageSense is it gives you this report. This is a scroll map report. Here's an insight that I get 100% of visitors are seeing this when they jump on the website, and only 77% of visitors are seeing the second section. Now you might think that's good. You might see it's bad. Third section, 57%. Look at how much drop off, 23%. Then from 77 to 57%, 20%. I'm losing so many people, 37%. It just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping, which is good for me to understand so I can optimize my website accordingly. And then secretly, we're creating a new website right now. It looks great. We're going to release it in January. So with that, I now have good data so that I can make better decisions to optimize my website for conversions. I even have this heat map report so I can see where people are clicking. Let's say I see people clicking here. You can see there's a few clicks around here. There's nothing for them to click. So that'd be good for me to know when I optimize my website. So I can see everywhere that people click when they jump on here. Then I have an attention map as well. And these are just different reports that I can use to optimize my website for conversion. So it shows you where people are spending their time. It obviously isn't tracking their eyes, it's just tracking where they stop, and it's guessing, hey, this is where their attention usually is, okay? So this is extremely important information for you when you're optimizing your website and you want to make sure it's happening automatically, which you can do through Zoho PageSense. You can automatically sync different Zoho applications together in this section of Zoho CRM. Usually the CRM sits at the heart of your technology stack. It's your source of truth for your contact and your customer information. You want to make sure that's flowing correctly to the other applications that you use. For example, with Zoho Finance, you want to make sure your customer data is flowing into this automatically. You don't want to do it manually. That would take forever. What's nice is Zoho has these out-of-box automated syncs or integrations that you can just enable. So I've enabled the Zoho Finance Suite integration so that when I jump into Zoho Books, Zoho Expense, Zoho Inventory, Zoho Billings, I'm actually just able to have my database from Zoho CRM sync over there automatically, and I'm ready to go. The reason Zoho doesn't do this for you automatically is Zoho doesn't force you to add any of these applications in the Zoho One environment. It allows you to choose which applications are relevant to your organization. For example, it's not going to automatically set this up if you have QuickBooks and you're going to use the QuickBooks platform for your accounting and your bookkeeping. It's not going to force you over to Zoho Finance, okay? So that is the Zoho Finance Suite automatic sync or integration inside of Zoho CRM. Automatically sync your data from Zoho CRM to Zoho Desk with the Zoho Desk out-of-box sync. Okay, so this is in the integration section. What's useful about this is when I go to manage, you can see that I have the sync of accounts and contacts from Zoho Desk and Zoho CRM. So this is going to routinely sync. If there's changes made in Desk, that will reflect in CRM and vice versa. I could also do products if I wanted to, but I sell service, so it's not relevant to me. And this is a demo anyways. Now, here are the different modules that Zoho Desk, you can see here it says choose the modules that should show Zoho Desk tickets in the related list. So I just have the leads, deals, contacts, accounts. If I wanted to, I could go crazy. I could select all. but that's not really relevant to me, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to select leads there. So select how, show tickets for Zoho CRM users, tickets from all departments for the integrated user, tickets from the departments in which a user is part of. So I'm just going to do tickets from all the departments. If you want to get more granular with that, you have the option to, but this is the best way to sync your Zoho CRM database with Zoho Desk, because Zoho doesn't assume that you're going to be using Zoho Desk as a different data storage engine. You got to be aware of that and set up the sync so it happens automatically. A note here on the integrations piece, some people get frustrated with Zoho One. They think, hey, isn't it supposed to be one storage unit? It's called Zoho One. So when I integrate or when I import data into Zoho CRM, shouldn't it go to all the other applications? You would think that's the way it works. It's just not. Zoho can be sells its products individually. So each product is built around its own storage engine. However, Zoho is aware that people want this data to sync. So that's why we have this section for out-of-box data syncs that we can automatically enable, so it's automatically syncing. Okay, so that's the purpose of this section. One thing to be aware of strategically, you want to set these up at the beginning. If you get your integration set up at the beginning, then as you add data to systems, they will connect with each other and the information will pass through the system the way that it needs to. It's better to set it up at first, because if you do this in a duct tape solution phased manner, then you're going to have to stop. You're going to have a lot of start and stops within Zoho. We're going to have to end development, evaluate where the integrations are. So it's better just to set up these integrations with the different apps you want to use at the beginning instead of doing it over time. So just a pro tip when you're doing these automatic data syncs / integrations. Automatically fill out details on a form before you send a form out to somebody. If you have people send out multiple forms and you've already collected certain information, for example, I send out a Zoho assessment, but by the time I send out the Zoho assessment, I already have someone's first name, last name, email, and you can see that if I go to links, then I go to Zoho assessment, and then I go to edit this, you can see in the URL, the base URL is here. Everything after the question mark, I've got merge fields in the URL. So what this tells the system, being Zoho, is if I click on this, it's going to pre-fill the first name and the last name, and then in the background, I actually have a hidden field for email, which is the unique identifier, so that when this is filled out, I know where to send the information. But the automation that's important to understand here is we are merging information, as you can see here, at the top of the URL, so that once someone clicks on this link, it pre-fills parts of the form because we've already collected information on it. If we ask someone to fill out information that they've already filled out before, it's just frustrating and it's redundant. So we can reduce that redundancy with automation. Now I can also send this in an email. So if I go to send email and then I go over to form links, I can actually retrieve this link and then send it over to somebody as well. So that is how I can automatically fill out information on a form using the Zoho Forms link builder. Automatically create work orders and estimates and requests inside of Zoho FSM through the Zoho CRM FSM integration. If you don't know what Zoho FSM is, if you are managing any kind of work in the field, then you want to use Zoho FSM. Zoho FSM stands for Field Service Management, or in other words, it's your best application for actually managing what's going on. Essentially how it works at a high level is you get work orders, which are action items for your different technicians or your field reps. It's what they need to do in the field. And these work orders just contain the information on where they need to go and what they need to do. Okay, and instead of creating these work orders manually, if you're already using Zoho CRM, which is where you manage and close deals, once the deal is closed, you can automatically push that information over to Zoho FSM. And then another tidbit here, just for those of you who aren't super familiar with this kind of technology, because oftentimes people are not, there's a dispatch console. So once a request turns into a work order, then that work order enters a dispatch console. On the left-hand side, you'll see the different work orders. If you had them, no work order filtered under selected custom view. If we did have work orders, they'd be here. And then all our field technicians / field representatives would be here. We could drag them onto the timeline. Okay, so what I'm talking about is instead of doing this all from scratch, we want records to flow so that we reduce the redundancy of entering the same information over and over again in different applications. That's why we have this integration from Zoho CRM. You can see I'm in the CRM here, to Zoho FSM. And so we need to map where this is going to go. In Zoho FSM, you can see the structure here: company, associated contact, and then in Zoho CRM, company, associated contact, contact, and how the different structure between the records in both systems work. But what we want to think about here is from Zoho CRM's module sales order to the work order in Zoho FSM module, a sales order represents what's been purchased by someone or an organization. You can also see sales orders. We can map that over to estimates and requests. We can do the same thing for deals. So if we don't use the sales orders inside of Zoho CRM, we can also use the deal. So once the deal is closed, we push that over as a work order into Zoho FSM, enters dispatch, and then we can schedule different appointments, multiple appointments if needed against that work order. That way we can, in the best way possible, manage the work that's going on in the field, and we can push those records from Zoho CRM to Zoho FSM automatically. Automatically create onboarding checklists inside of Zoho CRM once you close a deal. Now you'll want to use Zoho projects to conduct your onboarding. You could use a list of tasks inside of Zoho CRM. I think it's much better to automatically create a onboarding checklist within Zoho projects. And the way that you can do that inside of Zoho CRM is you can see I've got a Zoho projects related list here. I can go to add. And then from here, I'm getting a window into Zoho projects. I can go over to my new customer onboarding checklist, click that, and I can do onboarding template for NextEra Energy. Here we go. So I'm going to remove template here, and we got onboarding for NextEra Energy. I could also automatically add this to Zoho Sprints by clicking on this checkbox. Once I click on next, I'm going to save this. And then inside of this deal, if I go down to Zoho projects, you can see here's the onboarding checklist for NextEra Energy. Now I can configure this checklist from the template to match the tasks that I want here. So I'm going to do by milestone, we're going to do all open. You can see here's checklist 1, item 2, item 3. Okay, so I can add the different onboarding checklists here. And then as we need to modify the base template, I can go into Zoho projects, I can modify the template. That way, the next time we close a customer, that updated list appears for onboarding. This is the best way to automatically generate an onboarding checklist when you close a new client. Automatically sync your Zoho projects data with your Zoho finance data. You can do this using the Zoho projects finance integration. When you go into Zoho projects and you create a project, you're going to see a page like this. You're going to have this budget section. You're going to have to determine how you're going to budget for this project internally. And then you are going to determine how you're going to bill for this project if you're doing client work and you're going to be billing a client. You can see here I have different options: project hours, staff hours, fixed price for project, task/issue hours. So whether it's fixed or based or it's an hourly based billing that I'm going to be doing in this project, I can integrate Zoho projects with Zoho Finance. That way I can create invoices based on the timesheets, right? So I'm working on tasks, I'm noting my time. If I'm going to bill by the hour or based on timesheets, then I can take those timesheets and then create an invoice right here. If you haven't done this before and you need to, this is extremely important to set up because it will save you so much time when it comes to billing, also with expenses. So if you want to automatically sync your Zoho projects data with Zoho Finance/Zoho Books, then you can do that using the Zoho Projects Finance integration. Automatically merge quote information into a proposal/agreement inside of the Zoho CRM quotes module. You can see I'm inside of a quote here. If I go to the three dots and click on mail merge, then I go over to consulting proposal. This is just an example proposal for demonstration purposes. You can see here that I'm able to go to run merge, and then we've got these quoted items at the bottom. When I hit merge, it's going to open a new tab in just a second. Let's give that a second to run. You'll notice a new tab has been created. And inside of this new tab, we have the template here, which has the merge fields. And then we have the merged information now from that quote. So we've got the company name, we've got the line items that were a part of that quote, the grand total, etc. Also, you'll notice that I've added here these different Zoho sign merge fields. So if I go here to distribute and then go to Zoho sign, these will become Zoho sign fields, and I can send this proposal for signature in Zoho Sign. Okay, so with this integration, I can take this document, I can send it through Zoho Sign to different recipients, myself included, and I can collect the necessary signatures for the agreement. So if you want to automatically merge information from the quote into a proposal/agreement, you can do that within Zoho CRM. Automatic employee onboarding using Zoho Learn. This is extremely critical to understand. The strategy here is you've got to create SOPs in your organization. Instead of creating SOPs yourself, which you may not have time for, you can have my SOP on creating SOPs, send it to someone that you trust, and then send them different videos for things that you want to become SOPs, such as sending a proposal, adding timesheets, whatever's important in your organization that you need to standardize. You can make a video of it, send it to someone along with an SOP on creating SOPs, and then they can create it for you. Okay, so that's the system for automatically creating SOPs, or maybe not automatically, but on autopilot. But then you want to train new team members, new employees in your organization, and you don't want to have to do this manually. You want it to be on autopilot as much as you can. So what you can do inside of Zoho Learn is take the different SOPs that you've created, you can line them up, and then you can have someone go through all of them as they join your organization. That way they are familiar with standard operating procedures, how you do things in your organization. This is the best way to document SOPs at scale and then train people coming in the door. You can be proactive with these SOPs that you've created instead of just reactive. Reactive being if there's a new employee in the organization, they're like, yeah, how do I create a proposal? Then they go and search inside of Zoho Learn. That's reactive. Proactive is, hey, you just joined our organization. This will be your role. For all employees, we have them learn these 10, 20, 50 different SOPs. Take this course. It'll have an assessment at the end. And we're going to make sure that you're up to speed on the different SOPs in our organization so that you can perform. Okay, so you want to set up your employees for success. You want to train them on autopilot. This is the best way to do it. Automatically push a job opening to multiple job boards using Zoho Recruit. Zoho Recruit is what we refer to as an application tracking system, an ATS system. Now, there's many different applications that can do this, but if you're inside of Zoho, use Zoho Recruit. It's a great tool for sending out applications and generating different opportunities to fill a job opening. Okay, so once you have a job opening, you can see Indeed here, ZipRecruiter, some of these popular job boards. Some are sponsored, some are not. But the idea is instead of individually going into every single one of these job boards and creating a job opening, you can create it inside of Zoho Recruit. And then Zoho has done the heavy lifting and integrating with all these different job boards so you can push out to them automatically. So create it once and then publish it to all these job boards at scale using Zoho Recruit. Automatically acquire candidates directly from source boosters inside of Zoho Recruit. What does that mean for you? Well, if you are posting a job opportunity, you can use job boards to create the job opening once and then publish that to multiple job boards. But some job boards actually collect the information upfront from a candidate. So someone goes to the job board, they sign up, they say, I need a job. They enter their database, the job board database. Then you can tap into that database using source boosters from these various job boards. Some of them are pretty popular, like Monster. So if you want to automatically tap into these databases instead of building your own and being reactive, once you publish your job opening to different job boards, if you want to tap into the candidates that have already signed up on these different job boards, you can do that automatically using Zoho Recruit. Automatically grant access to your system using the Zoho CRM portals feature. Essentially, a portal allows you to not pay for an individual Zoho license for someone to access your system. Typically for clients, you will grant portal access so they can see the information regarding their account. But there's many different use cases for portals. So the idea behind this is you can very quickly set up a standard portal. You can configure what parts of your system you would allow a portal user access to. You can go to a portal preview so that you can see the different fields and different modules that they would have access to inside of the portal. So you can configure those settings here, and then you can automatically grant access very quickly to a series of users by going to invite users. It will give you a list, and then you can click on the drop down of all the people that you want to grant access to. If you want to do it on an individual basis, go to a specific contact after you've configured the portal. Then you can go over to send portal invitation, and then you can select user type for the invitation. You can select multiple user types for your portal, just like you can internally inside of Zoho CRM in Zoho One if you're using that as well. So this is the best way to create a portal and then automatically grant access to your system to a variety of different either clients or people that you want access to your Zoho CRM portal. Automatically grant access to various Zoho applications using zPortals. So zPortals is in Zoho. It's a third party, but what they've done is they've identified this need in the Zoho ecosystem where instead of having access to 10 different applications in their individual portals, they're bringing information from multiple applications into one portal. Okay, so you can think about it as a Zoho One portal as opposed to a Zoho CRM portal individually, and then an individual Zoho Books portal, then an individual Zoho Desk portal. You don't want to give your clients 10 logins to 10 different portals. Okay, so some of your clients may not need something like this. This is the most robust version of what you can create for a portal. The only thing that I'd say is it would come close to more robust would be if you created a from scratch Zoho Creator portal and you had a great Zoho Creator developer. But most people can get away with doing a Zoho CRM portal. And then for people who need a robust, clean interface for their portals, they go zPortals. So zPortals is great. zPortals has done the heavy lifting for you. They've set up the integrations with different Zoho applications. So the different Zoho apps that you can integrate with are right here: Zoho CRM, Zoho Books, Zoho Subscription, Zoho Desk, Zoho Sign, Zoho Vault, Zoho WorkDrive, and even Google Maps. So you can bring all this information into one unified portal. And then you can automatically grant access to this portal to different users, usually clients, so that they can see the information in your Zoho ecosystem related to them. Okay, they can see related information all in one spot. So you can see this is a professional services example. If you want to check out zPortals and what they have to offer, you can go to Browse Example Portals and see all these different solutions they have for a unified Zoho portal. Automatically generate lists of leads, contacts, and opportunities inside of Clay, and then import them into Zoho CRM. So yes, technically this isn't a Zoho specific automation, but it has to do with Zoho. And I feel like I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't at least mention this to you. So what's nice about Clay is you can go to Create New, then you can go over to Table. And then if you want to find people, you can enter this interface in which you can filter down the different opportunities, companies, people that you'd like to reach out to and appeal to for whatever service or product that you offer or whatever solution you offer. So here you can see I've got companies that I can select a company table, different company attributes. I can exclude different people. I can select job titles. I can include different job titles. I can include different job functions. And essentially I can filter down Clay's enormous database to generate a list of opportunities / leads / contacts that I can appeal to or reach out to. Now this would be cold outreach, which is great if you have a tool like Smart Lead. You could use Zoho Marketing Automation, Zoho Campaigns, but that is for subscribers, people that have opted in. If you generate a list like this, this doesn't necessarily mean that the data that you collect in Clay has opted in. Usually it's cold outreach, so you got to be aware of that. Your profile, person names, minimum number of connections. There's so much information you can whittle down here. Probably reminds some of you, if you've done advertising, the Facebook / Google demographic filters that you can use and whatnot. So this is a way for you to generate lists, lead list, opportunity lists, contact lists automatically inside of Clay. And then once you do this, you can go to preview people. You can see that Clay will generate a preview of different people that match the criteria. They're just going to pull the top 50 for you to preview here. Then you can import this list. Once you import the list, you'll have that file, that CSV file on your computer. Then you can go to Zoho CRM and import a list of leads, contacts / opportunities. Automatically generate local opportunities to do business using Clay. Now, the way that this works is if you go to Create New, then you go to Table, you can go over to find local businesses using Google Maps. This could be applicable to you, it might not be. But the important thing here is if you're already sourcing your lead lists or your opportunities from Google searches and then going through that local box and then finding local businesses, you can do this much better and much easier through Clay. So search type, let's do business types here or free text. And we're going to start with free text because this is if you are searching through Google. So we're going to do here in Manhattan, we're going to do dentist. And let's say we offer SEO services, search engine optimization services for people's websites. We want to help people in the Manhattan area. We can drop a pin in any location. You can first search that location. I'm just using the default one here. Then go to free text. We're going to do dentist, number of results, 10. And then I'm going to go to continue, new blank table. So now it's creating information based on all the configurations we just made. It's using the Google API to source this information. And then instead of you going through Google, you've already found this information using Clay and it's already in a table. So from here, you can go to actions and then you can export and then you can bring it into your system to do outreach. And this is the best way to automatically source your local lead opportunities / your different business opportunities using Clay and then bring it into Zoho. Automatic field recognition when you import records into Zoho CRM. So this is really useful if you import data quite a bit. You don't want to manually link every single field to a column inside of a spreadsheet that you're importing. So you can see that as I get a file here to import, we're going to do this example demonstration local business file that I have. We're going to go to next. We're going to do both. Next. We can do lead ID, we can do email here, go to next. You can see that certain fields have already matched up for me. I didn't do anything here. You can see name, first name, description, website, phone. So it will automatically match fields that exist in the spreadsheet to fields that exist inside of Zoho CRM. When you are importing hundreds of different fields or dozens of different fields even, it's extremely useful to have this automation built into Zoho CRM so that when you import data, it remembers the different configurations that you've made. And when there's an exact match or a similar match, Zoho CRM will do it for you. Automatic anomaly detection inside of Zoho Analytics. What this allows you to do is if you have a data set and you want to see when something is out of the ordinary, either in the positive or negative direction, you can apply these different models. So if we go to any kind of report inside of Zoho Analytics, we see this analysis option. We can click on it, go to anomaly and outlier, and we can apply these different models, whether it's this ML-based RPCA model or whether it's this statistical model. We can use various statistical models, IQR, Z-score, percentile, and we can do a custom one too. What's helpful about this is now this is baked into the system and you can configure an existing option. Whereas previously I've had clients come to me and they say, hey, we're in a position where we have these key clients that order in bulk from us every single month. And we want to see month to month these different orders because if they dip below normal, we want to reach out and see what's going on. So that's been a situation in the past in which we didn't have access to this anomaly detection feature. But because this is now built in, this would take a couple moments to set up as opposed to hours upon hours upon hours back and forth on how we want to consider something an anomaly or out of the ordinary in the negative direction. This is now much more straightforward due to this automatic AI anomaly detection inside of Zoho Analytics. Automatic AI insights into reports inside of Zoho Analytics. When you're looking at dashboards or reports and you're trying to gather insights so you can make better decisions, sometimes it's kind of difficult to interpret the reports that you're looking at. So to spark some ideas on how you could interpret various reports, you can hover over a report. This is if you're in a dashboard user interface, and then you can go over to Zia Insights. Now, when you click on Zia Insights, it's going to pop up various AI generated insights for the report. So total views for each month with day in this year, insights for the total views between January 2024 and December 2024 was 111,260. Maximum total views 22,641 was observed in May. Total views saw 21.78 times incline in the recent period. So it just gives you all of these AI generated insights so you can better interpret the reports that you're looking at. You can click here too. Total views January 2024 to December. You'll see the total views there. Maximum and minimum views decreased, views increased, highest and lowest month over month growth in views. All these various insights are automatically generated for you. That way, if you have difficulty interpreting the data and you're needing to make better decisions, you can get those insights, which will inform your decisions to make in the future based on the report or data set that you are looking at. You can have AI automatically write emails for you inside of Zoho CRM with this feature. If you go to send email, I'm going to demonstrate this for you. I'll go over to Smart Prompt. That's the icon right here. We could do Writing Assistant, but we're going to stick with Try Smart Prompt for now. We do Promote a new product, Welcome a new customer, Invitation to an event. Or we can do an open prompt. So I'm inside the leads module, and a lead represents an unqualified opportunity. So it doesn't really make sense for me to welcome a new customer if they're a lead. So I'm going to do a open prompt here. And then I'm going to say, I'm writing an email to this customer regarding a discovery meeting to further explore this prospect's needs. Write it for me, include my booking link. Okay. So now if I submit this, it's going to tap into ChatGPT. You do have to configure this with ChatGPT. You'll need an API key. You can see, dear receiver name, I hope this email finds you well. I'm writing to Express, blah, 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 blah. Insert booking link. There's a spot where it doesn't actually have access to my booking link. That's fine. But here you go. It's pretty lengthy. There's some configurations we can do here. We can make this shorter, medium, long, professional, casual, humorous, descriptive, narrative, sarcastic. So think about it this way. It's basically ChatGPT inside of the Zoho ecosystem. So instead of having a ChatGPT window open and prompting AI, you can prompt AI within Zoho, and then it will just backend into ChatGPT. So for this one, I would do a little shorter. I'd have an update, and then hopefully we'd get a better response. There you go. Now it's just a couple sentences. I can copy this, and then I can just throw it right into my email. Okay. So this makes life easier to be able to use AI functionality within the Zoho ecosystem instead of having to have two windows. So if you want to be able to automatically create emails using AI, you can do that inside of Zoho CRM. Automatically create notes inside of Zoho CRM using AI. So I'm inside of a record here. If I wanted to take a note, I'd go over to this notes section, and then I can go over to add a note, and then I can try the smart prompt. From here, I have some out-of-box options, basic notes, to-do list, sales notes. I'm going to do open prompt, and I'm going to say, I had a meeting with this prospect and we discussed pricing, timeline, and details for a Zoho implementation project. Now, obviously, you'd want to tailor this to the notes that you actually want AI to enhance and expound upon. Also, I want to make sure that it's more detailed than this. But for the sake of demonstration, this looks great. I'm going to hit enter, and we're going to see the output here. So I can copy this, I can paste this, and this looks great. This is a good wireframe to go off of. That way I don't have to create the note from scratch, and AI is helping me. So if you want to have AI automatically create your note for you, you can do that inside of Zoho CRM. Automatic note AI summarization. We're inside of a record here inside of Zoho CRM. And imagine that you're in this situation where you're looking at a record, there's many notes that have been taken. And instead of going through every single note and reading them all the way through so that you can then summarize it for yourself, you can have AI do it for you automatically through this summarize notes functionality. So if I click on summarize notes, it's going to take all the notes in this record and it's going to give me a summary. Here we have the last note summary. On December 5th, Drew Brockbank initiated a detailed follow-up with a prospect regarding their Zoho implementation project. The discussion centered on several key areas: business process, workflows, identifying key pain points, etc., etc. And this is what's helpful about AI is you're essentially bringing ChatGPT and AI functionality into the Zoho ecosystem, so you don't have to jump back and forth through your favorite AI tools. You get that functionality right inside of the Zoho CRM interface. So if you want to automatically summarize notes that are on a record, you can do that within Zoho CRM using AI. Automatically gather additional information using smart prompts inside of Zoho CRM. You can see here that as I hover over the company field and I click try smart prompts, I get 3 pre-baked prompts in an open prompt here. These 3 pre-baked prompts, competitor analysis, marketing strategy, growth potential, all relate to the company field, which I hovered over. So if I go over to website and click on try smart prompts, I get 3 different pre-baked prompts: career opportunities or job openings, contact information, blog, or news section. So you can send AI on a mission for you to find additional information on top of what you've already collected inside of Zoho CRM. This will help you not jump back and forth from your favorite AI tools. You can stay within the Zoho CRM ecosystem and take advantage of everything that AI has to offer right within the application itself. You can also do an open prompt. You don't have to use these pre-baked prompts, but it's nice to be able to use AI functionality inside of Zoho CRM. Automatically assign created tickets inside of Zoho Desk for your customer support representatives. Now, Zoho Desk is a customer support platform. So as your customers or prospects have questions, issues, concerns, whatever it might be, they can submit that information to you. It will create a ticket inside of your system so you can manage those incoming requests. So as you can see here, we've got 2 options: round robin and direct assignment. Round robin is becoming more popular. Essentially what you do is you say, hey, these are the people on the team. We want to evenly assign in a sequential order the tickets coming in to this team. So it'll go, as you're seeing here, 1 by 1 by 1, and everyone will be evenly distributed, assigned to these different tickets. Now that's round robin. We can create a round robin assignment rule. You can see I have a round robin assignment rule right here, in which I can load up my team into the assigned to section. They'll be evenly distributed tickets. I also have a direct assignment. So let's say I wanted to do skills-based assignment. I could get really crazy with this and have AI analyze the ticket and then sort them based on what skill, or and assign that ticket a specific skill, and then match that skill with someone in the organization. So if I wanted to do that, I'm going to back out, create one custom here just to give you an idea of what this looks like. We're going to do skill-based assignment, active. We're going to do ticket create, add target. So the criteria here will be skill is, and then we can configure this to be contain all of, and then list out the options here for different skills, then assign ticket to rep with that skill. So that's just an example. The AI enrichment and analysis of the ticket to determine the skill would happen in another tool like Clay or ChatGPT, and you get that prompt back, then update the ticket, but then that would trigger this assignment rule so that you're doing skills-based assignment. Also, if you wanted to, you could do an initial assignment to a manager and they can analyze the ticket themselves and then determine the skill and then hand it off to another customer support rep, which is another popular way of doing assignment. Initially, assign everything to a manager, then the manager distributes it as well. So choose the automation that best fits your needs for automatic ticket-based assignment. Automate your service level agreement inside of Zoho Desk. Now, Zoho Desk is a customer support platform if you are using it to provide multiple tiers of support to your customers. For example, let's say you have 3 different tiers of support. So when a customer comes to you, you sign them, you're going to give them gold, silver, or bronze level support. So gold level support is you're going to resolve tickets within 6 hours. Your agreement with a silver customer is you're going to resolve a ticket in 12 hours, and then bronze 24 hours. Well, let's go into gold. We want the system to help us adhere to our service level agreement. That way we're not trying to figure out on a ticket by ticket basis how quickly we need to resolve the issue at hand. So here you can see we've baked in the service level agreement into the system. So we only want this to execute when associated to an account, because each account then needs to be assigned which level of service they have, gold, silver, or bronze. So here's the targets. This is where it gets interesting and helpful. Is if I go to modify this, you can see if I respond within 2 hours, we want some level of escalation. So let's say I agree that we're going to respond within 2 hours to our gold tier clients or customers. Well, I want escalation if we breach this. I can choose an agent to assign this to, like a customer support representative manager, if this is breached. That way they can triage the different issues, maybe someone is overloaded with tickets and they're not able to resolve it, then they can push that over to someone who can adhere to the service level agreement. Okay, so there's a lot of different options here. You can notify yourself, but this is the best way to automatically build in your service level agreement into Zoho Desk so you can adhere to the service that you've agreed to with your customers. Automatically be kept up to date on what's going on inside of Zoho Desk using notification rules. So you can teach the system how to notify you of when certain things are happening inside of Zoho Desk for your customer support operations. So you can see here we've got lots of different options: contact notifications, agent notifications, department notifications, team notifications. This is all in an effort to inform you on what's going on in real time. So you got two options. You can either receive an SMS notification, a text to your mobile device, or an email notification to help you in your email inbox be aware of what's going on. So receiving a new ticket, acknowledging a ticket reply, closing a ticket, assigning a ticket, receiving a ticket reply, all these different options that you can configure so that you know what's going on, exactly what's happening in your system in real time. Automatically assign records to the right people inside of Zoho CRM using automatic assignment rules. So the way that this works is you want to make sure that leads, opportunities, contacts, they're assigned to the right people. Inside of Zoho CRM, because it's a relational database, each record needs clear ownership. And you want to make sure that that ownership is assigned to the right person instead of default applying ownership to one person. That can get really messy really quick. This is really useful in a couple situations that'll rattle off, but this isn't exhaustive. And you may have a use case outside of what I'm about to say, which is totally fine. Just take the principle of this automation so you can apply it where you need to in your organization. So lead assignment's a big one. When leads are coming in the door and you need to assign them to different marketers, different sales reps, maybe you're a solopreneur, in which case this won't be super valuable for you. Let's say an SDR, sales development rep, converts a lead into a deal. You need assignment rules to make sure it gets to the right business development rep or account executive. So let's take this one, for example. We're just doing lead assignment for this demonstration. Again, may or may not apply to you. That's okay. It's really to demonstrate functionality here. So lead assignment round robin. Round robin just means even distribution of leads coming in the door. One after the next will be assigned to the person on the team. So lead assignment round robin. You can see here, if I go to modify this, we can see exactly how it works. So every time a lead matches the criteria where the status is sales ready, which means sales needs to now do something about this opportunity. Previously, it might be marketing ready, then move to sales ready. Then I want to assign this to all people in a specific role. If I had full-fledged roles in this demonstration instance of Zoho, you would see something like SDR, sales development representatives. And the way that it would work is everyone in that role, SDR, would then be assigned in a round robin pattern, as you can see here. And so we could also drill down with users matching certain conditions. We can do role-based, we can do user-based. There's different options that we have here. Once I save this rule entry and then I enable it, if I back out here, you can see that now the assignment rule is baked into the system. And I have now taught Zoho how to assign records automatically to the right people. Automatically attach a PDF file of a form submission inside of Zoho Forms to Zoho CRM. So what do I actually mean by that? Well, when you create a form, for example, I have a Zoho assessment that I send to prospects after they book with me. So if they're qualified after they book, I send them a Zoho assessment to collect additional information so I'm prepared for our first discovery meeting. The thing that I do here automatically that's really helpful inside of Zoho Forms is I've selected this option, attachment and signature. So send attachments and signatures to Zoho CRM. Now, I don't collect signatures, so that's not really relevant here. The thing I want you to think about is attachment. So once someone fills out this form and all the questions on it, I could bring those over as different fields inside of Zoho CRM, but some of the things here that I collect, I just don't feel like are relevant to have as fields. I don't do a ton of analysis on it. I don't bring it into Zoho Analytics. I really just want a PDF that I can look at while I'm talking to them and I can go through their answers with them. I could also do this in tandem, meaning at the same time that I'm bringing information from Zoho Forms into Zoho CRM, like I'm doing here. This is the field mapping. I've got like 50 different questions. Well, not 50, but I got a bunch of different questions on this assessment. I could link all of them and bring the PDF over. But in this situation, I just want the PDF to be able to bring up. I want it to be attached to the record after someone fills it out, and I can do that automatically using Zoho Forms. Automatically junk bad leads inside of Zoho. So I use zero bounds to validate these emails, because if I don't validate the different records coming to my system, the different leads, and I emailed them and they have a bad email, then that flags me so that when I send emails out in the future, then different email service providers are like, this person's a spammer. We're going to mark all their emails as spam, which means it halts my ability to communicate. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that when I send an email, it gets to people's inbox. So in order to protect myself from that, I automatically junk all the leads that don't have a valid email address with this flow. So when a new lead comes in, I use zero bounce. You can use an alternative platform if you'd like to. This is just the one that I'm using. Then I make a decision based on the response from zero bounce. I update the module entry being the lead, or I update it if it's invalid to junk, which I'm going to show you here. If we go over to lead status, you can see here that it's marked as junk. And so that sits at the end of my Kanban board where it has my whole lead management process. At the very end, I have this dead status for rejected junk. And then in my marketing, in my mass communication, I always have lead status rejected junk that's excluded from all my communications, so I can avoid getting penalized and then having all my emails end up in spam. So you can do this automatically using Zoho. Automate different actions after someone fills out a kiosk form inside of Zoho CRM. So you can see here I have a kiosk. If I go to test run and then I throw in a ID for a record, you can see it triggers this form that pops up. So you're able to configure this pop-up form, this kiosk, in different areas of Zoho CRM. This example is just to demonstrate the functionality for Zoho assessment. So let's say instead of sending a form out to a prospect, when they jump on my first discovery call, and I'm going to build a Zoho system for them, I want to conduct the assessment on call. I don't do that, but let's say I did. And it would be smart because some people don't fill out the assessment. So when I get on the call, I still want that information. It would be good for me to create a kiosk, click a button, and instead of seeing all the fields on my record, I could just see the Zoho assessment fields. And it would make it very easy for me to collect the relevant information. So I'd fill this out, and I'll just do demo for all of these questions. And then I'll do 12 here, and I'll click done. What happens now is I have this convert current record. So if I go to edit this, I'm going to proceed. I'm able to add different actions that will happen automatically after the form is ran. So we're going to go again here to plus, and then you're going to see screen decision action. So these are the different actions we can automate. Should remind you of a workflow rule. We have field updates, assign owner, tags, email notification, activities, create record, convert, webhook function. The one that we have right here that we just enabled or triggered is convert. That means you take a lead record and you turn that into a contact, potentially a contact lead and a contact deal and account. So that's the action that we automated here. And you can automate certain actions inside of Zoho CRM using Kiosk. Automatically power dial using Zoho CRM and Phone Burner. There's other tools you can use for this, but I want to make you aware of this automation if smile and dial is a tactic that you're using for prospecting. So if you are inside of, let's say, the leads module and you're wanting to call a list of people back to back, you can use Phone Burner. This is an extension that plugs into a third party. Phone Burner is the third party. And essentially what it allows you to do is select different records like you can see in this. You sign into Phone Burner, and then it just allows you to rapid fire call all these people. So one click, it throws you into the power dialer, and then you just call one after the other. So if smile and dial is a part of your prospecting tactics, then you'll want to automate that with Phone Burner in Zoho CRM. Automatically update statuses so they reflect where they're at in a process using Kanban boards and automations. So this is a principle that I just want to leave with you because I feel like I'd be doing you a massive disservice if I didn't mention it. Everywhere there's a process, there should be some kind of Kanban board. Now, some of it's a science, some of it's an art. It really depends on the process. Usually I try not to have less than four stages / statuses. Each stage / status is actually just this blue bar at the top. And then I try not to go over 7 because then it's just confusing as to where the process starts and ends. So I try not to have less than 4, more than 7. That's a sweet spot. And the idea behind this is every time a record is added, if you can, make sure it's updated automatically. For example, I have raw leads come in from my RB2B flow. So it analyzes visitor tracking or visitor traffic. If it finds an IP address that matches its database, it brings in raw leads for me. Now, when that automation triggers via Zoho Flow, I make sure the status is raw lead. I don't want it to come in with no status. We'll actually add this this non-status category for me. I have everything organized though, so it doesn't have that right now. I don't want it to have no status. I want it to have raw lead as a status. That way it's organized correctly. Then when there's a marketing ready lead, I use a mix of lead scoring. Also, if someone subscribes to my newsletter, they automatically are marked as marketing ready. Then sales ready, if they fill out a form that I deem as showing sales intent, then they enter my sales ready column. Sales engaged is a manual one. I could make this automatic, but there's reasons why I've chosen not to. Reached, if they fill out a booking form, so they book on my calendar, I mark them as reached. I could relabel this to booked as well. That's not a problem. It's really just the verbiage that makes the most sense to you in your process. By the way, this is just the leads module. This doesn't include deals. So the different modules in your organization will likely include various processes. That's great. You can actually manage multiple views for multiple processes within a module to help you keep track of where things are at in a process. And you want to make sure that you're automatically updating statuses because doing it manually just takes so much time. Automatically execute equations inside of Zoho CRM using the formula field. So you can see here the formula field that I have is possible business age in years. And what we're doing is we're pulling information from the record, the lead domain age, and dividing it by 365 to get an idea of how long the organization has been around so that when I meet with someone, I have a better understanding of how established the organization might be, okay? There's different ways to get this information, but this is a good way to show you what the formula field can do so you can translate this functionality into your organization. So the domain age is 1460. How did I get 1460 though? Well, I have an automation that takes the email address and then it pings zero bounce and sends me back how long the domain has existed in days, but I don't get it back in years. Also, I get back if the email address was valid, okay? So on the domain age piece, 1460, we divide that by 365 automatically. That way, when I meet with this lead, I can see possible business age in years and then see okay, they've been around 4 years, that's much better than 0. Okay, and then we just round out this number. So you can execute all kinds of different equations. You're able to use these different functions. You can pull in information from the record itself to manipulate different data points the way that you want, and you have these different operators. So again, you have complete control of how you run this formula / equation inside of the formula field in Zoho CRM. Automatic record updates using the lead rot workflow rule inside of Zoho CRM. So the best way to understand where this would be helpful is to show you a process that I have here. So I'm going to use lead rot in the situation where I'm reaching out to leads, but anywhere you have a process and people are forgetting to update things, this kind of workflow rule is going to be helpful for you. So look at this process that I have for my leads. So they graduate from left to right in this Kanban board. Each Kanban column represents a different stage of a process. So each lead will go through in some form or another these stages: raw lead, lead marketing ready, MQL sales ready, sales engaged, reached, and recycled. Well, sometimes I forget to update these. And when I do, if I forget to update them for a month, it means I've just forgotten about them. I get really busy with my day. So do other people in their systems, and they just forget. That's okay. But we want to make sure that those are not left in the system and not cluttering up views. So we want to automatically update them to recycled, not qualified, because essentially this stage is what we build our automatic marketing communications on. So if a lead is in this stage, they will start receiving automatic mass promotional material or nurture series, whatever you'd like to call it, sequences. So what we've done with this workflow rule is if it's been a month since the last activity time, we execute this function, which updates a lead like Amelia over to recycled, not qualified. So if Amelia's last activity time, it's been over a month, this will execute and the lead will then be updated to recycled, not qualified. So anytime you have a process and you have, you're noticing that people or yourself, you're forgetting to update, make sure to have a kind of record rot workflow rule so that it updates records for you automatically. Automatic signature updates inside of Zoho Sign. This is one of the reasons that I love Zoho Sign is when I send out a document for signature, I get the status updates coming back live. So if I want to see if someone's viewed the document, signed the document's been completed because there's multiple signatures required, I can get all that information and updates live through this application. Also, I have the Zoho Sign mobile app, so I get it through my phone as well. So as people sign, as documents are completed, I get those notifications. I can even sign documents right from my phone when they're sent to me through Zoho Sign, which I actually just did a day ago. So very useful to use this, very useful to get automatic updates on those. Also, if you're doing B2B, it's really useful to be able to see the different Zoho Sign documents that you've sent for signature right from the deal record in the related list and see its status. So essentially, this integration between Zoho CRM and Zoho Sign automatically pulls Zoho Sign data into Zoho CRM. Also allows you to send Zoho Sign documents for signature right from the CRM. And this is just great because you don't have to jump from application to application. You don't have to jump necessarily to the Zoho Sign interface to view all of these statuses. You can also just see it right here with the context of the deal that you're trying to close. So that's if you're in B2B. If you're not, you can translate this to your own organization, how you would use it for yourself. But that's how you get automatic sign updates using Zoho Sign. Automatically generate Zoho Sign fields. This automation essentially allows you to automatically place these fields in a document instead of having to drag the fields onto the layout, which it's not a huge deal. Definitely a first world problem, but it builds up over time if there's multiple places that you're going to require different Zoho Sign fields being placed on a document. Why not set it up once, forget about it, and have it generate automatically for you? That is why I think this is important. Okay, so how does this work? So to give us a situation to make this more real, let's say you're trying to close a deal, you send out a proposal. Okay, you send out your offer, and you have these Zoho Sign fields placed in the document. Well, this is the way that you have to format it. You see signature, asterisk here. This makes it mandatory for them to sign. That way they can't complete the document without adding a signature and a sign date, which will automatically populate depending on the date in which they enter the document and complete it. And then you've got the same thing here, signature recipient too. It's really hard to find how to format this. So take notes if you have two recipients that need to sign a document. This is the way to do it. Once you upload a document for signature, then it will populate the these different merge tags that you see here with actual Zoho Sign fields, which you see here. Okay, so that is the best way that you can automatically generate Zoho Sign fields on a document. Automatically update different lifecycle stages inside of Zoho Analytics. To get a report like this, you have to have some way of automatically updating stages prior. So a lot of times people try to generate a report like this and it will look crazy. So stages that are downstream will have more higher counts than stages upstream, and it will be confusing. It won't look like it slopes gradually. So in order to get a report that looks like this, and the reason it's useful is you can see different drop-off points to see where your process is struggling. You have to have some kind of automation that's saying, hey, if a lead has been reached in this example, then we need to automatically update the different records we need to add records for sales engaged, sales ready, marketing ready, raw lead. And that's how you can get this gradual slope. This is a highly desired report. What's the automation behind it? Well, before I get to that, I also want to show you this is the process that's being modeled here. So we're taking records that exist inside of the CRM. You can do this, by the way, for any process that you have. I'm just going to show you how it works for the customer journey. So you can see lead marketing ready, sales engaged, reached. We have those same statuses here, marketing ready, sales engaged, reached. And then we even have the deals pipeline that we've brought into this same report as well. Now, what's the actual automation that's generating the different stage updates here? Well, you can do it via Deluge. I think it's much better to do it using SQL inside of Zoho Analytics. And you can see here that I have two different tables that are at work. So first, I have a table that says, hey, what is the current status of the record? If the status is, for example, sales ready, you can see this one saying where sales ready. I know this is going to feel like a lot for some of you who don't know SQL, but I'm going to break it down for you. MQL sales ready, you can see we're adding MQL sales ready, lead marketing ready, and raw lead. Now, why are we doing that? Well, if we look at the process here, we're saying, hey, if the lead is MQL sales ready, we want to add a record for this stage to give it credit for this stage, and this stage. And this is what's kind of tricky is when you build processes, you need to do your best to build the processes so that each stage downstream, moving from left to right forward with the process, needs to assume that the stages behind it have been completed. And you may think to yourself, well, that's obvious based on the report that I showed you, based on this Kanban view. That might be obvious because I'm showing you a completed system with that in mind that was built in that fashion. But most systems aren't built like that. And so you need to design it correctly or it will get very chaotic. Some people don't have their process working from left to right. They just have random stages all over the place, and then they try to look into their crystal ball and interpret where it is in a process, and it's just impossible to use. So that's what makes system building like this difficult, but once you do it right, you want to get these reports. Okay, so that's the first SQL query. That's the automation that generates all of the correct stages, but then you'll get duplicates. And so then you have to run another query, which you can see here. If you want to use this, if you want to screenshot it, copy it, apply it, great. And this will essentially group all of those together so you remove the duplicates from your list. And you can then, after you remove those duplicates or you group them together, you can append additional information onto this table in Zoho Analytics. So I prefer using SQL. You can also use Deluge if you want to, but this is the way to automatically generate lifecycle updates inside of Zoho. Automatically assign applications to new users using Zoho One. Now, Zoho One, for those of you who don't know, is a bundle offering of applications to different organizations from Zoho. So what that means is you get 46 plus applications with your Zoho One subscription as opposed to paying for all of them individually. So you can see a bunch of the Zoho applications right here. The Zoho One interface allows you to quickly jump from application to application. Now, what I want to show you here is when you add a user to Zoho One as a platform, sometimes you don't want to, oftentimes you don't want a new user to have to add all of these apps manually. You know, based on their role, which apps they need access to. Oftentimes. So how do you automatically assign those applications that you know that they'll need access to once they're onboarded as a user? Well, you can do that through conditional assignment. And so you first need to add a group. Once you add a group, you can go to assign apps. And then based on the group that they'll be a part of. So you'll add their user, you'll assign their group, and then you can assign these applications to the group. That way, when they're added to the group, they automatically have all these apps added to their Zoho One interface. I know that can be a bit confusing, but once you actually add a user,
you are going to want to add them to a group and automatically assign them different applications. And these are the different applications you can choose from to assign to the group, which will then be assigned to all associated users of that group. And that is how you automatically assign applications to new users inside of Zoho 1. Automatically validate images in Zoho CRM. To make this a little more high resolution, we're going to look at this example from Zoho's documentation on this new feature, Zia Vision. So let's say you work in real estate and you got to upload images to the CRM once you have a home that's you're trying to put on the market or a home that you're working with, okay? Here you can see an image that's crystal clear, it's in color, and then behind it you can see in black and white and it's out of focus. Well, you can train Zia's vision model to the desired output of the images. So if you want them all in black and white, great. You can start to train it by uploading different images for your desired output. And then you can find a bunch of bad examples like this one behind it, the black and white image, to train it on the undesired output. And this will continually refine the model so that when images are applied or added to different records, you automatically validate them using the Zoho Vision Zia feature inside of Zoho CRM. Automatically generate a test environment inside of Zoho CRM using its Sandbox feature. So essentially, this feature is useful for those of you who want to make changes to a live instance of Zoho. A live instance of Zoho is a Zoho system that currently has users working inside of it. Some changes are minor and you don't need to bring into a test environment, but some changes are major and you want to make sure you get approval and it's tested before you deploy those changes to a live instance. So what are your options? Well, with the Sandbox feature, you're able to take a live instance of Zoho, make a copy of it so that you can make changes to the copy where people aren't using it, and then you can get approval and then apply those changes back to the live instance of Zoho. So it gives you a testing environment where you can play around. That's why it's called Sandbox before you roll out changes live. What does that actually look like for you? Well, if we go over to this demonstration Sandbox, it looks exactly like using the live environment, except you get this little banner up at the top that says Demonstration Sandbox. So as I make changes to this, I'm going to see changes populate in this queue here. Okay, it'll show me the component and item that's changed, the module, the action, who it was done by, when it was done, and then a link. Okay, and as this builds up, you can then deploy those changes individually, or you can deploy them together. And then it will show you different deployment logs so you can see what changes from the Sandbox actually were pushed to the live environment of Zoho. And that's how you can automatically generate a test environment for Zoho CRM. Copy the customization, settings, and setup of another Zoho instance into your Zoho instance. Yes, what I'm saying here is you can copy everything about a Zoho, or just about everything, from another Zoho instance or portal or setup into your Zoho account. And what's included here is in Zoho CRM's documentation of the features that get copied and then the features that don't get copied. So if you want an extensive review of this list, you can go to their documentation because they're very specific. How does this actually work though? If you wanted to copy all the settings, feature, and setup of another Zoho instance, what you would do is you'd go to Receive Customization, and then you would generate a copy customization key. Okay, so this is if you want your instance of Zoho to have you want to copy the customization of another system and put it into your Zoho instance. You would generate a copy customization key. It's essentially a unique ID. And then you would send it over to the person who manages the Zoho instance that you want to copy. They'd go to Send Customization, and then they would apply the key here and put Send Copy Customization. And then within 24 hours, it will customize that system. So you go to Receive Customization if you want to have your instance changed and you want to copy the settings, features, and setup from another Zoho instance. And then if you're trying to send it, you need them to generate a key for you so that you can apply it here and put send, copy customization, and then you're good to go. Automatic transitions in blueprints in Zoho CRM. Now I have some mixed feelings about blueprints because oftentimes it's used too willy-nilly, then people get frustrated with it. So I like it for what it's really good at. I don't like it for what I see most people try to do with it, which is build an A to Z blueprint in which every single step of the process is enforced. What you do with a blueprint is you essentially map out your process and then cement the process into the system. And that might sound great to you. You might think that's exactly what I want to do. But cementing step by step what you're supposed to do is tricky because the steps of a process normally change. It's very common in most organizations for processes to be in flux. And usually that's because the customer journey changes, which means the processes change, which means the technology to support the processes to support the customer journey must change as well. So what do I mean by all of this? What does this have to do with automatic transitions? Well, instead of doing an A to Z blueprint, I would recommend using my automatic training or autopilot training system that I do in Zoho Learn. I have a whole video about that in which you use SOPs, much better way to enforce step-by-step processes. It's a lot less heavy-handed and it's much more scalable than a blueprint. A blueprint requires so much maintenance and so much updates if you try to do A to Z. But if you do a to B, C to D blueprint, which is you specifically apply blueprints to parts of a process that have to be done very specifically, then it's great. That brings us to this automatic transitions. Okay, so in automatic transition, whereas a manual transition is, hey, you've got a record that's sales ready. Let's take leads, for example. It's ready for sales to act on this lead. Then you also have reach. Again, this may not apply directly to you, but try your best to translate this to your organization. Sales ready, and then you've reached them. Well, you can add with this transition a button. Okay, so when I put update to reached and I hit new, now this is going to show up in the lead record. And when a lead enters the status sales ready, it will be locked in the blueprint and there will be a button that says update to reached. And if I click on that, that's a manual update transitioning from one state sales ready to the next state reached. But we can actually do this automatically with automatic transition. So if I click here, an automatic transition waits for a specific time after which the transition will be triggered automatically. So I can save that. Now you can apply this to many different situations, but the automation here from sales ready to reached, really the event wouldn't directly apply to this situation, but I just want to give you a good demonstration of what this would look like. We can trigger on 4 days after, and then we have all these different automations that we can run off the back of this transition. So if someone's pushing from or transitioning from a record from sales ready to reached, maybe we want to send a notification to their sales manager. Maybe we want to create a task here that because they've reached them, now they need to book with them. Whatever it might be, it's very useful to have these automatic triggers or automatic transitions inside of the blueprint inside of Zoho CRM. Automatically pull data from across systems using the queries feature in Zoho CRM. Now, the best way to understand this is for me to show you an example. So what we're doing in this example with this query is we're pulling data from the deals module into the contacts module. So let's just say we're doing B2B and we're in this B2B organization, we're a sales rep, and we've done a lot of business with company X, and we've always had our point of contact A at this company. What would be nice is when we go into contact A's record, if we could see all the deals they've been a part of and different data from those deals. So I can go over to queries. After I built this query, it will then appear, so you can see deal name, closing date, stage. If I go over to queries, I can select the query that I created. I can drag it onto this canvas layout. This is me customizing the front end of what their contact record will look like. And I can then choose which fields are applied to this query. You can see closing date, deal name, stage. Those are the same data points that I grabbed here in fields. And so now I can see very quickly on the contact record, all for contact point of contact A in our example, I can see all the different deals that we have done with that point of contact. So it's a very good way of bringing information into the record here. Now, I do have some mixed feelings with Canvas, specifically in that it requires quite a bit of maintenance. And if you're not a UI UX developer, or if you're not inclined to do a lot of UI UX work, it just seems a little overkill for most people. Also, when you add a field, it doesn't automatically apply to the layout, which I think can be kind of a pain, honestly. And then you have to jump through tabs. I'm not even a big tabs person. I know a lot of people are, but I'm used to doom scrolling, bring on the doom scrolling. But it can be useful in a lot of situations to use Canvas. It's nice to apply different templates as well. And then you can use Canvas to apply the different queries that you've generated into the layout. You can also use queries by the way for other features, but I'm just showing you it here inside of the Canvas view. Automatically design the front end of Zoho CRM with the Canvas feature without having to do any kind of coding. You can do this by going over to the Create Record Detail page. Then you can go over to whatever record you want to create the front end for. And instead of designing it from scratch manually, you can select a template and then apply it automatically to your system. Now, a lot of these templates look really nice. You may even think that they look nicer than the out-of-box front end of the system. Now, I want to give you some context to this because I have mixed feelings. I think it's a very innovative feature. I think it's really cool that they're exploring this at Zoho. Also, I think it's a lot of maintenance for the average administrator and user of Zoho. And what I mean by that is once you go tabular instead of just doom scrolling, it makes I mean, this is a good example. Look at these fields. Look at how it's cut off. It just seems a little forced oftentimes when I see Canvas. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, 90% of the time I see people try to use Canvas, it just looks way worse than if they had stuck with the initial view. So it looks really cool, looks really neat, but the usefulness, I'm not sure is there quite yet. I think it's being developed so that it will be, but I just think it's a lot for an administrator to handle. Like it's so much maintenance, little things like when you add a field to think to yourself, oh yeah, is it supposed to be in this tab? No, this tab, wait, which tab? And then there's a rule that's hiding certain sections. It just gets overwhelming. So bring on the doom scroll. If you like a tabular format, that's great. You can use Canvas view. I don't mind just scrolling through the record, seeing the related list. I actually think the way that Zoho set up out of the box is extremely intentional. Looks overwhelming at first, but as you get more into it, it makes more and more sense. So check out Canvas if you want to automatically apply these templates to your system to make it more aesthetically pleasing. Automatically generate a data model inside of Zoho CRM. I find this useful because a lot of my clients or people that I've worked with will try to build an ERD. It's called an entity relationship diagram. An entity relationship diagram looks something like this. It shows you entity, meaning different modules or objects in a system, how they relate to each other, how does it work together. Now, this looks a bit crazy, but I see people try to design something like this manually using different tools such as Lucidchart and things like that. And this is a very quick way to generate an ERD, and then you can even zoom in here and then just have modules related to the entity that you've selected to further simplify the view. And so instead of doing this manually, if you want to create an ERD, if you want to show the different entities at play in a system and then how they work together, don't worry about creating this manually. Go to the data model feature and create it automatically. Automatically validate field inputs using the validation rules feature inside of Zoho CRM. Let's just say you had this situation occur where you're noticing that the phone number field is being filled out differently every single time, and you want to validate the way that it's structured so that people save it and input the data in correctly in the system. Because we know if we get garbage in, we get garbage out. With this validation rule, you can see that when people fill out the phone number field, we're going to validate using criteria. We could also use a function if we wanted to get fancy, but we're going to keep it simple for now. I can say number of characters need to be 14. You may think, well, there's way more, or there's way less characters than that for a phone number. well, including the parentheses, the dashes, and things like that. And spaces, we just want to limit to 14. So it needs to equal 14, or in other words, we want it in a format such as this. This rule will be applied for all records, and we just want the 14 characters because we have 5 here, 6 with the space, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We want it to be in this format. So we could get really crazy with this and use regex, regular expressions, to say that it needs to be exactly in this format. But as a first pass doing 14 character limit, that's great. We can just, it needs to equal 14 characters, and we'll give them an error, enter the phone number with 14 characters like this. This is a great way to do a validation automatically within Zoho CRM for field inputs. Automatic sales forecasting. If you want to see how much revenue should be closed month to month, this report is for you. In order to set it up, you need to make sure that you have your stages properly laid out in your deals module. You also need to make sure that for each stage that you have a probability. You determine the probability based on historical data. And if you don't have historical data, you will just make an educated guess, knowing that you can refine and always change this later. So for historical data, if you notice for every 5 qualified opportunities that came through your organization that you closed one of them, you'd have the probability of 20%. That way in the future, we can weigh the probability against the value of that opportunity. What does that actually look like? It looks like this. Also keep in mind, since we're seeing this x-axis in terms of month to month, we're seeing each of the months down here. What determines if the deal ends up in this month is not the creation date or the modified date, it's the closing date. So there's a field inside of the deals module. It says, when do you think this is going to close? It's the closing date. And that will determine if they say, probably January 15th, it's going to end up in January. So we made this demonstration dashboard just to give you an example of what this would look like for an organization. So yes, this is 2024, but this will give you an idea of exactly how this works. So there's 3 different components per month that I need to show you in order for you to properly understand this. We have the expected revenue. You can think of that as the weight amount. You have the total amount, and then you have the amount of deals. That's ID distinct count. It's the ID is just identification. It's the distinct number of deals that should be closed in that month that we're guessing will be closed. You may be thinking to yourself, yeah, how does a rep know, or how do I as a solopreneur, whatever your hierarchy or organization structure looks like, how do I know when it's going to close? You don't know. The closing date field is your best guess of when you think it's going to close based on what's being discussed. So this is 4 different deals. The weight amount, which is again the value, again qualification. If we have a deal in the qualification stage, it's $100,000. And we have 20% as the probability, then we would throw in $20,000 in the weight amount if there's just one deal. But we're getting the total of all 4 of these deals, and then we're multiplying the total amount by their individual stage probability decimal to get 15,000. Hopefully that makes sense. And then for this total amount, it's unweighed, right? So we're not weighing it against the probability. We're just getting the total amount. We want to know, hey, of all of the deals that have a closing date of January were to close, how much would we make? And that's this amount. So not a huge difference between these two. It's also a little confusing because the axis is split. So you can see we've got total amount and then expected revenue, and we have different, the axes aren't the same. So we have different values for the y-axis, but that's totally fine. There's modifications we can make to this, but I want to get this idea across. So now you can better interpret this report when you're looking at it. You go month by month and say, okay, I see. So we did $34,000 in this month. And let's say this was 2025 and we were in 2024 and you had a long sales cycle. You could start forecasting for the next year, the next couple months, start seeing how many deals are here. You can also take away elements of this report if it's too crazy for you. You just want to see, let's say, the weight amount. You can also make that report as well. But I wanted to show you a more robust version. This is something we build out quite a bit for our clients so they can get better automatic sales forecasting. Automatic third-party integration pull. It's really important to understand that inside of Zoho, you can automatically take information from another platform / application. And Zoho Flow is the best way to accomplish that. And we use what's called a webhook. A webhook is just a URL, and we basically say to other applications, if you ping this webhook URL, we will absorb the information that you are sending us. So we just copy this, we put this in a script or a webhook builder in another application, we ping it, which means we just hit. Essentially, when you ping a endpoint or URL, target URL, you can use endpoint, target URL interchangeably. It's referring to this. It's like the computer is just copying this and entering it inside of the URL bar. That's essentially what's happening when you ping a endpoint. And so that's the way that applications talk to each other. They just take a webhook, they put information on the end of it, they enter it into the URL bar, and then that sends it to whatever application you want to send the information to. So in this example, I'm grabbing information from RB2B. They essentially scan my website for traffic. They match my the traffic IP addresses with information in their huge database of emails, phone numbers, LinkedIn profiles. If they find a match, they send over the information. I take the information from a webhook, break it down with the script, and then enter it into my CRM. So this is a great example and a quick demonstration of this automatic third-party integration pull. Automatic third-party integration push of information. This allows you to have Zoho talk to other applications and platforms automatically. And so you can see all these different applications and platforms that we can push to. Google Calendar, Zero Bounce, those are outside of the Zoho ecosystem, Zoho Analytics, Zoho Bookings. If we click on these, we can see the different things, the different ways that we can push information to these applications or platforms. So in Google Calendar, I can add a conference, create an all-day event. In Zero Bounce, I can validate an email. In Zoho Analytics, I can add a user, change user role, create a row, old version, new version. I can do all of these different actions. So not only can I pull information into Zoho Flow, I can push information out of Zoho Flow. I don't even have to integrate within the Zoho ecosystem, meaning I can integrate Acuity scheduling with Google Calendar. I can just bypass the Zoho ecosystem. Yes, I'm using Zoho Flow, so technically it goes through the Zoho ecosystem, but you get what I mean. And that's the true power of Zoho Flow as an automation and integration platform. You can pull information in, and then you can push information out. Automatic third-party integration push via API. So an API just stands for Application Programming Interface. It's what allows you to make a custom integration and talk to another application or platform. For example, we've got CallRail. CallRail has API documentation. API documentation typically looks like this. And what you can do here is you can click through the different calls that you can make. A call is just a different URL. Here's an endpoint right here. And when you hit this endpoint or ping it, then you can send information to CallRail to make CallRail do something without even having to log in, do something with the application automatically. Now, CallRail may not be applicable to you. That's okay. You can translate that into whatever applications you want to integrate with. Zoho has essentially done the heavy lifting, and it has many different applications that it's already worked with its API, and it's made a front-end user face that you can use so you can avoid using code. But using code is the most robust way of doing this because it allows you a full range of flexibility to manipulate the data in the way that you want so that you can get the integration working exactly the way that you want. That's the usefulness of code. And it allows you to do things a lot quicker the better you get with coding. And the language that's used here is Deluge. Okay, so another thing I'm going to show you is Zoho's applications also have very robust APIs. And so this allows you to go inside of Zoho and automatically trigger different things here, like getting a field, creating a custom field, whatever you'd like to do here. There are so many options for these different APIs. You can ping these different URLs and make things happen inside of Zoho. And so this is the third-party integration push via API. The way you accomplish that is through an invoke URL function inside of Deluge. It tells you the URL, like what specific endpoint or function do you want to trigger within their API documentation. And then you've got to put other information such as type parameters and headers that essentially informs the function of exactly what information you want to push to those applications so that you can do an automatic third-party integration via API. Automatic AI LinkedIn profile finder. This is the best way to find LinkedIn profiles based on contact information or lead information. Okay, so let's say you have a form, it's filling out first name, last name, company, email. You can use that information to prompt AI. We're in a tool called Clay here, but we push it to Zoho, so I'm just going to count it as a Zoho automation. Go to edit column. Essentially, we are teaching Clay, an AI web researcher, using a prompt. It's calling it a mission. Find the LinkedIn URL profile for first name, last name with company. Okay, so it's merging first name, last name, company into the prompt. If it's not found, output null. If the LinkedIn profile is found, only output the URL of the LinkedIn profile. I'd say this works about 80% of the time across the board, which is a much higher success rate than the most other forms of doing this, such as using other third parties. Another very popular one is Apollo, ZoomInfo. There's a lot of them. And so you can see the reasoning for finding these, the confidence that the AI has that it found it correctly, the different steps that it took, and that will find the LinkedIn profile for you. And then you can extend this functionality with other automations, such as using Lemlist to connect with LinkedIn profiles. You can send messages to them automatically. There's a lot that you can do here to find a LinkedIn URL profile automatically and then send messages, connect, and whatnot. Automatic payment capture inside of Zoho Books. When you send out an invoice to somebody, what's really nice about Zoho Books, and this is the difference between Zoho Books and its finance modules versus Zoho CRM and its finance modules. Yes, there's some overlap there. Zoho Books, when you send an invoice, it's not just a document that they can view. It's something they can actually pay through, meaning there's a pay button, and then they can either pay via credit card. You can put your ACH information in there. Whatever ways you want to collect information, you can do that. So you can see that I'm doing that here on this invoice. I've sent it out. It's been paid. And so in addition to that, there's automatic payment reminders, which is great. And then you can see payments received here. So I get those payments. It's extremely helpful. I've hidden a lot of these elements, but I wanted to show you that these payments come in. Hopefully, if they pay it, Zoho allows the customer to pay through there, which means you can automatically capture that information. You don't have to do it just via ACH. If you want to collect it via credit card, you want to take a hit for the fees, great. Just send out the invoice, and then Zoho Books can automatically capture those payments. Automatically charge your customers using Zoho Billings, formerly known as Zoho Subscription. So you can see in this subscription lifecycle that when a customer comes to you, you can show them the different plans that you offer. When they select a plan, they're going to enter their credit card details into that, and then a subscription is created. That subscription is essentially saying, hey, we're going to raise an invoice at the end of every billing cycle. So let's say you put the cycles every month. Every month, the invoice will be raised. It will charge the credit card on file. Then at the end of the next billing cycle, another invoice will be raised. It will charge the credit card on file until the subscription is canceled or expired. So that is what you're able to do inside of Zoho Billings. You can automatically charge your customers. Automatic transaction categorization inside of Zoho Books. So two main ways to do this. One is way more popular than the second because it's kind of new. But the first way is to add categorization rules to transactions. Essentially, when you set up the rule, you just say, hey, if this field, let's say description, for example, in the transaction contains ABC, then make the category transfer from another account, sales without invoices, etc. Okay. So that's the older way of doing it. You essentially select a field, you put a criteria around it, and then that will determine the category. So that's if you want to do it automatically with option one. Option two is a little more crazy. What you can do is essentially use ChatGPT. So this would be through Zoho Flow. Categorization or transaction is created, triggers the flow, and then you can prompt ChatGPT something like this based on the transaction description for And then you can merge additional information other than transaction description, and then put the description of the transaction here. Which category would you choose for this transaction? You can only pick one, and you have to pick one. Only output the exact match verbatim of the category you choose, and then put your different categories or options for categories here. And then it will choose one. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least it does it for you automatically, and you can just do a quality assurance check as opposed to having to do this all manually, okay? So that is a useful way to also do the categorization. And then here's the API endpoint for categorizing an uncategorized transaction inside of Zoho Books. So that's how you can automatically categorize your transactions in Zoho Books. Automatically pull in records such as transactions from your bank using the bank account sync in Zoho Books. So instead of creating each expense manually, so you can see here I'm in the expenses section, I can manually go over to add transaction and then put the transaction here. But it's much better to do this with the automatic bank feeds supported banks here. So if you got one of the supported banks, great, you can connect with them, or you can add the bank accounts manually. But if you got one of these supported banks, then you're in luck. This just makes it so much easier for you to pull in information from your bank, such as transactions, into Zoho Books. Then you can add an automation on top of that to categorize the transactions to keep your books nice and tidy. Automatically sync Zoho Finance records with Zoho CRM. So this one could be a bit confusing because in Zoho CRM, there's also financial records such as invoice, quote, sales order, purchase order, things like that. So you can see here, there's a question at the bottom, what would you like to do with the Zoho CRM's native inventory modules? You can keep them if you're still using them, or you can change this to hide them. I recommend just keeping it. It's a bit confusing, but you don't want to lose that data if it's already been used. But if you're fresh to the system and you know that you're going to be using Zoho Finance, then it's okay to just shut them off so that it's not an eyesore. But you can see that this doesn't just integrate with Zoho Books, also expense, subscriptions, and Zoho inventory. This is a very robust integration. It's the best way to pull these records into Zoho CRM. The reason this doesn't happen automatically is Zoho doesn't know for sure if you're going to use the Zoho Finance Suite. So it doesn't want to integrate with those applications inside of Zoho CRM if you're not going to use it. So you got to set this up, but then information such as invoice, quote, sales order, purchase order, expenses, subscriptions, product stock updates, sales orders, packages, shipments, invoices, purchase orders from inventory will all flow into Zoho CRM automatically with this sync. Automatically remind attendees of their meeting inside of Zoho CRM using workflow rules. You can see automatic meeting reminders. Execute this workflow rule. We're doing this on the meetings module. Execute this workflow rule based on date and time field. And we want to define the execution date is on the date, and then execution time 2 hours before. If we want to do, a different one here, let me scroll out. Like immediately 5 minutes before, you don't want to do immediate, right? You want to do 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, right before the meeting. Normally you want to remind someone that the meeting's occurring. You can set recurring, doesn't really apply here. If the meeting's not recurring, this rule will be executed for all meetings. And then you can see I've added the owner, which is the owner of the meeting itself. That's the internal person in your organization, then email. Okay, so very robust, allows you to configure this however you want so that you can automatically notify your attendees of the meeting. Automatically notify the attendees of a meeting while you're creating the meeting. So you can set this reminder as you're filling out the form to create a new meeting. Sometimes you're using a sync. So for example, I sync from a Google Calendar over to my Zoho CRM calendar. But if you're not doing that and you're creating a meeting, you can set the reminder right here, 5 minutes before. And then you can also do another one at the time of the meeting. You can add additional reminders there. So this is another way to set up the automatic reminder. So you set it up once, you can set it and forget it. The key to a productivity nerd's heart is and always will be keyboard shortcuts. This is one of my favorite automations. You can just set them up so that you don't have to scroll manually and click on things to navigate. You can automatically navigate through keyboard shortcuts that you set up. Some of my favorite ones are the custom ones that I built here. Go to deals. So if I do GD in that order, or GL, GA, I go to different modules inside of Zoho. See some popular ones here. / just allows you to quickly open up record search And so all of these keyboard shortcuts come in handy when you want to navigate very quickly through the Zoho interface. Is this an automation? I'll leave it up to you. I'm going to consider it one because I want to add it here. I love this. This is one of my favorite things to set up these keyboard shortcut automations so I can quickly navigate through Zoho. Automatically absorb information from an email using an email parser. So in those situations where you're consistently getting an email that's formatted in the same way and you create a record based off it, let's say you're getting a lead notification email from a separate system from Zoho. And every time you get that email, you want to create a lead inside of your system. You can do that using the email parser. It's not as good as a webhook, okay? A webhook is more consistent, it's better, but you can default to an email parser if it's your only way of absorbing information. Okay, so you can see here, I've got this formatted email, first name, last name, email, subject, needs. And essentially what I can do is Zoho will recognize the different consistencies or the format of the email. And then you can choose what different fields mean. So you can see here, first name, Drew, map to first name, last name, semicolon, Brockbank, map to last name. So I can choose where this information goes inside of Zoho. The parser will do its best. It depends on how well formatted the email is. That's going to determine how well the parser works. If the formatting of the email changes, it will give the parser a harder time. It will be less accurate and will work less. That's why, again, I always default to, let's see if they have a webhook, if another system's pushing information. But if you're just going to get it in your inbox via email, they can determine what email they're notifying. You can have it sent to an email parser address, and then you can automatically parse the data and then push it into your system. Automatically generate a P&L report inside of Zoho Books. You can do this in Zoho Analytics, but why recreate the wheel? If it's already available in Zoho Books and it meets your needs, great. If you need to make lots of modifications on what this looks like, you can do that. You can try to do it here with some of the configuration options, or you can do whatever you want inside of Zoho Analytics because it allows you more flexibility. Here's the idea. This is a entire year, January 1st to the end of December. This year P&L report, just give me an idea of my cash flow, how much I've spent on operating the organization, and how much I've made with the organization. You can run this on a cash basis, cash in, cash out, and accrual. The quick difference being accrual is on the initiation of these expenses and invoices. And then cash is when the money is actually moved from a bank account. So for example, in 2024, at the very end of the year, if I invoice a client at the end of December, but then they actually pay in January, then my cash basis will recognize that revenue when it entered my bank account in January. But accrual will say that I actually we're going to recognize that revenue in 2024 because that's when I sent the invoice, okay? And I initiated the transaction. So you can, I see a lot of larger organizations do accrual, and it's a little crazy. And then it's essentially, I've seen it as like a delay tactic for taxes and whatnot. Yeah, accrual and then cash. A lot of smaller organizations are on cash. So you can run this report on a cash in, cash out or accrual basis, and then you can automatically generate your P&L inside of Zoho Books. Automatic data cleanup and deduplication using Zoho CRM's deduplication feature. You can automatically remove duplicates and clean up your database through these deduplicate action. You can do this in the leads, deals, contacts, accounts. You click on deduplicate. You can select the field in which you want to identify duplicates. So for example, you can select email because if there's a drewbrockbank@gmail.com or drewbrockbank12345@gmail.com in 3 different records, that's a good way of identifying duplicates. Phone number, that's a great way of identifying duplicates. So if I find and merge, we have 2 options when we run this thing. So the auto merge is if the records are exactly the same, first name, last name, email, phone, company, physical address, if all those things are the same, the record's just going to merge. But if there's even one difference between the records, the system isn't going to know how to do it. So it's going to auto merge for you, which this is the big help. You can resolve conflicts always later, But if you just want to do a quick sweep of the system, you can auto merge, and that will clean up so much of the data very, very quickly. So you got resolve conflicts. Let's say you have 2 records for myself inside of a system in leads. There's 2 duplicates for me. There's Drew Brockbank, and then there's Drew Brockbank12345 at gmail.com. And then there's Drew Edwards Brockbank, Drew Brockbank12345 at gmail.com. Well, the difference is the Edwards, and the system doesn't know which one should be the alpha record, the record after the merge. Should it keep Edwards or should it not keep Edwards? The system has no way of knowing what to do there because the records aren't exactly the same. And so you would know very quickly, okay, we'll just throw in Edwards, we can include it, but it will present you an interface in which there's conflicts in the merge and you have to go through there very quickly. So there's no avoiding that, but this is the key one, the auto merge. So you can run this. You don't have to do both in order for it to work. You can run the auto merge and then never resolve the conflicts. You can totally do that if you want to, but the system just can't do that part for you. So with that, that's how you can automatically clean up your database and use the deduplication feature inside of Zoho CRM.